This is NHTV2, North Haven Government Television, a service of North Haven Community Television. The following program is brought to you through the support of the town of North Haven.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Planning and Zoning Commission for December 2nd, 2019. My name is Vern Carlson, and I'm the chairman of the commission. And we have some public hearings this evening, and site plans, and some other as well. Before we get into the meeting, let me just introduce our staff to you. Out to my extreme right is Andy Belavacqua. He's our town engineer. Next to him is Alan Fredrickson, is our land use administrator. To my extreme left is Mary Lee Radjewski. She is our legal secretary and court reporter, whatever she likes. Okay, and then next to her is Pam Miller, is our secretary. Rod, can you introduce yourself?
Roderick Williams, alternate.
Jim Giletti, regular member.
Teresa Ranciato-Vili, regular member.
Richard Wilson, vice chair.
Brian Cummings, regular member.
Jill Salamini, alternate.
Okay, with that being said, let me get this set. On this first application, Pam, make a note that Jim and Teresa and myself and Rich will be sitting on this, and no one else, and that's on the Middletown zoning amendment. So before we get going here, how this works is that the applicant will present the application, the commission will ask any questions that they may have, and then I will open it up to the public and they'll have their say. And this is well, Teresa, I'm going to read it in.
Sure. I just need to borrow this. Public hearing number P19-24, continuation of application of Middletown 102 LLC applicant, proposed amendment to the North Haven zoning regulations to amend section 4.4.2 and add section 4.4.1.39 and section 4.4.3.11 to permit residential apartments above first floor commercial uses in CB20 zoning districts along Quinnipiac Avenue and Middletown Avenue. The proposed amendment is on file in Land Use Office and the Office of the Town Clerk.
Okay. That being said, is the applicant here?
Good evening, Chairman Carlson, Commission members. I'm Attorney Tim Hollister from Hartford, representing the applicant. Eli Amuno was principal of the applicant LLC, and John Gilmore, professional engineer from Malone and McBroom, are also with me. Congratulations to the newly elected officers. I know you will earn your salary as you go forward. Let me.
He's kidding about the salary.
That's true. We just got to raise it.
You got to be careful.
Understood. In my remarks tonight, I'm going to refer to this package, supplemental materials that has the November 7th cover on it that was provided to Mr. Fredrickson, and I assume provided to you.
We did.
So we were last here on September 9th, which is ancient history, so I'm going to give you a little recap of what we did last time and then walk you into the revisions that we've made in response. So what's before you is a proposed zoning regulation amendment regarding the CB20 zoning district. And the basic idea is to establish what we call mixed use, ground floor commercial use with 2 levels of residential apartments above, and this affects the CB20 zone, property with frontage on Middletown Avenue or Quinnipiac Avenue. So we applied in July, we were here in September, and at that time we reviewed the text amendment. We showed you the aerial photographs of the property that brought us here, 102 Middletown Avenue, which is an abandoned commercial use, about 0.37 acres or almost 16,000 square feet, an abandoned property at this point. And we talked about how this property might be redeveloped as an illustration under the zoning regulation that we're proposing. So, as you recall, we had a discussion, and the takeaways from that discussion for us were concerns about the density, which at that point was a potential of 25 units on that parcel, curb cuts, side and rear yards, landscaping, parking, and affordable units. I noted then, I will note again today, there's quite a few similarities between what we are proposing tonight and your so-called Upper Washington Avenue multi-use zone. A lot of similarities between that adopted zone and what we're proposing tonight. So what we've done since then, and I will apologize for the delay. We got a little caught up in trying to work back and forth that sometimes occurs between an illustrative site plan and the proposed text amendment, because quite properly you had asked, and Mr. Frederickson had asked us to think about how this proposed text amendment might apply to other properties in the zone, and we were going through that analysis, and the November 7th meeting kind of crept up on us, and we were a little late in getting the materials, but we were able to work it out by rolling over to tonight. So let me go through the features of the text amendment, and in tab 2 of the November 7th materials, you have both a so-called black-lined amended version and a clean version based on what we presented to you on September 9th. Probably the most important thing to bear in mind at the outset is that this is a proposal for a special permit process, and sort of somewhat addressing myself to the ladies and gentlemen of the audience. As you know, a special permit process means that you remain in control. The basic use is identified as one that could be suitable for the subject property, but how it plays out in terms of the details of the development is in your control because you have the power to impose conditions. So I will say there was an article in the local paper talking about opposing this application, which was provided to me today, and it talks about sort of uncontrolled development in which 25 to 30 parcels in the CB20 zone might all be developed with mixed use and commercial and residential. Well, that doesn't happen without your approving each and every one of those. You remain in control. So it's very important. This is not as of right development. This is special permit, your discretion, your ability to control the details, which is especially important in what I would call sort of a small commercial use type of zone. We've also, as you know, as before, we've reduced the side yards to accommodate the fact that there are smaller lots in the CB20 zone. As I said, the frontage requirement is it has to be a parcel that fronts on Middletown or Quinnipiac Avenue. The residential units can only be above the first floor, and then the ground floor is commercial units, uses, which we have defined with reference to 3 parts of your regulations, so-called neighborhood stores, neighborhood services, and neighborhood retail. So 3 defined sections. We're not creating anything new. We're giving you, utilizing sections that already exist in your existing zoning regulations. We've also put in some prohibitions on some type of uses. Gas station, for example, that would just not be appropriate for a mixed use where you have residential above a commercial use. Now, most significantly, we have reduced the proposed density to a formula, and you know, obviously, I'm not going to say that, not just going to speak for Mr. Frederickson, but we did do it as a ratio, a maximum of 1 unit per 1,200 square feet of gross lot area, which on this particular site that brought us here would yield a maximum of 13 units. We're going to show you an illustrative site plan of 12 units. So that is about half of the density, 50% reduction of the density that we were talking about when we were here in September. We have amended the regulations so that there can be nothing greater than 3 stories. The parking regulation, which has basically 1 space per residential unit plus the commercial spaces plus a shared parking formula, that section in particular is pretty much drawn verbatim from the Upper Washington Avenue multi-use regulation. The sites need to have public water and sewer. We've provided that no unit can have more than 2 bedrooms. That we've provided that no development can have more than 2 curb cuts. The property that we're talking about has 4, and we know there was concern about that last time, so we've reduced that to a maximum of 2. There's a minimum square footage for any residential unit of 450 square feet, and again, we'll show you that the actual units we can lay out will be somewhat larger than that on this particular site. And we've also clarified that there will be a requirement that the development meet all other regulations of the CB20 zone, including landscaping, and then, as I said, special permit criteria. In order to address the idea of how does this regulation apply to other uses, other lots across the CB20 zone, as I said, we've reduced the density and made it a formula based on the size of the lot, and, as I said, required that all other CB20 zones CB20 zone requirements be met. So I want to now have Mr. Iamano come up and just tell you a little bit more about the specific property that we're working on.
Good evening. My name is Joseph Agnuno. I am the applicant/developer. I also live in North Haven over on 66 Kings Highway. Sure. I-A-M-U-N-N-O. Thank you. You're welcome. So I thought it was important just to kind of understand a little history, at least for as long as I've owned it. We purchased it about 6 months ago. Our original intention when purchasing the property was to find a credit-worthy tenant and put them in the space. At the time, we did have a letter of intent from a Dunkin' Donuts, who we thought would be a good fit for the property. Make a long story short, not to bog it down, it never ended up working out. Corporate shot it down. We had the right franchisee who controlled the territory. It just never panned out. They shot it down. It was no longer on the table. We then hired Lou Proto from the Proto Group to market the property and find us another commercial credit-worthy tenant. And it's been silent. It's, just silent, totally silent. No one would really give us the time of day on that corner. We did have some non-credit tenants who showed interest, and that's pretty much what led us here today with our current application. We had a couple auto mechanic shops who had interest. We had a massage parlor. We had actually a palm reader who wanted to take the entire space and rent it as well. Ultimately, I'm from town. I'm local. I didn't feel it, and no offense to anybody's profession or what they do. I didn't feel like it was the right fit for the property. I thought we can do better as a town, and what we presented today, I think, is a much more viable option. We are currently building new construction apartment-style units, more like mid to higher end, in East Haven, in Branford, and local outskirts. And quite frankly, there's a need for it. I'm doing a project in East Haven at the time, actually right now, and the amount of phone calls we get from our younger workforce who we're employing at Amazon or Medtronics or these other places, we're actually losing them. They're not to say there's nowhere to go, but if North Haven's a hot spot, people want to live here, and there's not many options. So while they're coming here to work, we're not necessarily keeping them. They're going home at night, whether it's East Haven or Wallingford or New Haven. So 12 units is not going to necessarily change that entirely, but I think it's a good step in the right direction. While we could keep our younger workforce, in our town, shopping at our grocery stores and eating at our restaurants at night. What we're proposing, they're actually all one-bedroom units, so it would more geared towards a younger millennial type renter. We are looking to do something mid to higher end in terms of finishes, and then something, small commercial on the first floor, more of like an in and out type thing. But we've illustrated the parking could work. We came up with a really nice, landscape plan. At the end of the day, this particular property is the first thing you see when you're entering from New Haven. It's like the gateway to our town. To my knowledge, the property's been vacant for 26, 27 years. I'm ready, willing, and able to inject the capital and, make it beautiful and, something that we could all be proud of. Hopefully we get the opportunity. Thank you.
Thank you.
Commissioners, in the November 7th materials, tab 4 and 5 are illustrative for this particular site of how the regulation would play out, and I want to have Mr. Gilmore go through that.
Good evening. My name is John Gilmore. I'm a registered professional engineer in the state of Connecticut with Malone & McBroom with an office in 99 Realty Drive in Cheshire. If you recall, we were before you a couple of times on the project already. I think you know it well. It's right on the corner of Quinnipiac and Middletown Avenue. That's the building right there. I've got a blow-up of it if you're interested in seeing it. But the site's about 18,500 square feet. Right now, there's a building on it that's been vacant for some time, as Joe mentioned. It's about 3,000 to 3,500 square feet. Our proposal would be to build a building that looks like that. It's an illustrative plan. It would be a 3-story building. The lower level would be occupied by...
I want to turn that a little bit, sir. Let the public see that.
Unfortunately, I'm standing in front of it as well. Perhaps I should...
This is in your packet.
That's okay.
Yeah, probably should move back.
Yeah, that's good.
Is it okay? So the building would be a 3-story building. The footprint of the building would be slightly larger than what's out there right now, about 4,600 square feet on the first floor. So it's about an increase of maybe 1,000 square feet plus or minus on the first floor of the building. The difference, of course, is what we have out there right now is a 1-story building. We're proposing a 3-story building under the text change amendment. The lower floor, as I said, would be about 1,000 square feet of retail space, small mom-and-pop operation, but as you can see from the architecture, a quality development. Also below that are some enclosed parking spaces, 5 parking spaces, plus a lobby for the building, a small lobby as you get into the elevator. The building does require an elevator. The upper floors would be 1-bedroom residential units, obviously kitchen with 1 bedroom, a dining area. They run about 550 square feet plus or minus. There's some variation in the size, but they're all 1 bedroom. And there are a total of 12, 6 on each floor. So 6 units on the second floor, 6 units on the third floor, on top of the 1,000 square foot retail on the first floor and the parking structure. I just want to show you an illustrative site plan. Again, you inquired about things like landscaping. You inquired about the parking configuration. You also inquired at the last meeting that there are 4 driveway cuts out there currently. And you asked if we couldn't improve upon that. Because of the traffic situation, it's a triangular-shaped parcel right at the intersections. It's rather awkward. So I just want to show you the conceptual site plan with some landscaping on it. So you can see the building shaded in the tan color here. The present building probably is about this size, so it does extend out a little bit further. The noticeable difference is on this plan is we've closed off 2 of the 4 curb cuts. Both of those are along Middletown Avenue, so we allow the Quinnipiac Street curb cut here and that curb cut to remain, and the 2 curb cuts which presently exist on Middletown Avenue have been closed off. Retail, 1,000 square foot retail would be in this area of the building, so you have 5 parking spaces below this and another 15 surface spots on the front of the building, on the exterior of the building, I should say. So I think that's pretty simple. We've shown an illustrative landscape plan to show you what it could look like. And I think it's a quality project for this neighborhood. I believe the density is appropriate, and I think it makes a nice gateway to that part of town. So I think that concludes my presentation. I'll be happy to answer any questions. Or Mr. Hollister, if you've got any additional comments.
Okay.
Thank you. Just to finish up our presentation, Mr. Frederickson had made a comment a couple weeks ago that there was no density limit. Obviously, we've done that now with the ratio, and as John just said, we think the ratio is now more appropriate to the site than perhaps what we were looking at before. Mr. Frederickson had also made the comment that the phrase that we've used in the draft regulation, high-quality design, is not defined. What does that mean? Well, I go back to where I started. This is a special permit that is being proposed. I don't know that it would be really feasible to try to define, architectural materials or styles, but you remain in control. And if you get a site plan and a special permit application, you're going to have the authority to impose conditions and shape the architecture to something that you think is compatible with the neighborhood and with the particular site. So we haven't defined it, but it remains in your control. And I think that's the important point. So I guess my concluding thought, Commissioners, is, we, as Mr. Iammono said, this is a site that has been abandoned for commercial use for a long time. It doesn't look like there's any obvious candidate for a high-quality, purely commercial use on the property. So mixed use, is the next best alternative. I think what we're looking for tonight is your endorsement of the idea of mixed use on this parcel. If we need to tweak details, we can do that, but I think we'd like to know whether you're willing to consider mixed use as a concept, given the parameters that we've laid out in the regulation for this property. So I will stop there and obviously answer any questions.
As you well know, that this property's been abandoned for a long time.
Correct.
It's been sitting there vacant for years.
Yes.
You're certainly not the first people that came around with an idea, this and many other ones.
Right.
Dunkin' Donuts, that's been around forever.
Right.
And a bagel shop, all sorts of things have been there. So there's been a lot of ideas on the board for this piece of property. So, well, we're going to start over here. Jim, you want to take off first there on this?
Well, I just want to confirm so that people understand exactly, because you talked about ratio. And so tell me, under this plan, for this parcel, because that's what we're focused on. I know it can go to other CB properties, but this parcel really concerns me because it's very small. So how do you calculate that 12 or 13, I think, is that where you are? 12 or 13 is the most most apartments that could go there.
Let's see, if we did the math.
Is it the
They take the lot
1,200
size.
square feet?
Yeah,
In
lot
terms of
size.
square feet, divided by the 1,200, and they get, I guess, 13 point something.
13.
Yeah.
Okay. And so that people understand, under the regulation you're proposing, the most that could be is 13, right?
Correct.
Okay. Now, there's a couple of big issues that I have, and one of the first ones is parking. So tell me, how many spaces do you think you can get? 15? Was that the number?
19.
We had
19.
There's 19.
Okay. So you have,
I'm sorry, Mr. Julie, do you understand what the 19 are? So you have spaces, surface spaces, and then surface
Yeah.
spaces within the building, in the back.
spaces
Five
underneath?
under the building.
Okay. But it still worries me, because you have 13 units. Any of them going to have two people with two cars? There's no way to know. And I know the 1.4 calculation, and you're going to tell me, but how many spaces are going to be necessitated for your business? You don't know what the business is, but I presume some.
Oh, yeah, no, and if you have tab 4, if you have the materials in front of you.
Yep.
Tab 4, the first page is the non-colored up version of this, and there's a zoning, a parking requirement chart on the left side. So it shows that there's a residential dwelling calculation, there's a commercial dwelling, retail store, so 13 for the residential dwelling, 6 for the retail stores, and then again, just borrowing from your Upper Washington mixed use, we put in a shared parking process, but I'm going to keep coming back to the fact that everything that you may be worried about would be developed in more detail at the special permit stage.
Well, you're telling me that, and I hear that, but you got to convince me why I want to do this regulation to get me to that. So I'm not convinced that I want to. So I hear what you're saying, and you keep telling me, okay, we can wait to the special permit, but we've been sued on special permits before, so you're going to have to convince me why we want to do
Minimum
this.
requirements and maximum this and maximum that, to make sure the major parameters.
Tell me, if it's Easter Sunday, or whatever day it is, and these spaces are all full, where are these people going to park? And that's what's very different than, and I know you keep referring to Washington Avenue, which is a much larger parcel than this, so we didn't run into this same, we're jammed in here.
I'm just saying we took text of the regulation.
I get that.
All right. Okay.
But where would people go? I mean, that's a very difficult site.
Okay, but if it's Easter Sunday, then presumably there's no commercial parking.
Yeah,
That
But if-
depends.
Well,
yeah, right.
but again, that would be part of the special
I
permit
just don't
process,
know where
whether
to
the
go.
shared
There's no
parking.
street parking. So that's I have a very big concern. Plus, I was looking at the one that is tab 5, where there's landscaping. And this is what I didn't understand. So the car that's on the right, that's under the building? If you're staring at it, that's the one that's under the building? Because I couldn't figure out where they were getting in. So you would have two driveways just on Quinnipiac?
Could you speak up?
Yes, correct.
All right. I'm having a problem because it's so packed in, but those are my concerns.
Okay, thank you.
I'm next.
Yeah, go ahead, Teresa,
Right.
sure.
So, regardless of the concerns, and I share a lot of those, there are for other parcels, because this amendment is going to take in Quinnipiac and Middletown, which has a lot of residential residents abutting CB20s or in there. So, I guess I'm a little concerned, and you can maybe help me out. If there's two lots that somebody goes in and buys, and now we have double the amount of space, or 1.5 amount, that means we're going to start putting more apartments in. We're going to be able to allow those apartments in if we approve this text amendment next to residential areas, correct?
Correct, but remember, the ratio that we've proposed is no more than 1 unit per 1,200 square feet. So you can put the
Right.
two parcels together.
Right.
But you still got to deal with that limit.
We still have to deal with that limit, but,
A bigger parcel could potentially yield more apartments, that's correct.
right, and it could yield more apartments next to one-family homes.
Correct.
Okay.
And there would be landscaping and buffering requirements in the normal course under the special permit process.
Right, I understand the special permit process, but that goes to maybe changing the character now of certain neighborhoods and areas within that neighborhood, which happens to be my old neighborhood, so I understand what's there. So I guess that's one of my concerns as well. So that's a concern outside of what we have here. Something dear to your heart, there's not one affordable unit in there.
Yes, we had that discussion last time when
We
we
did.
decided to reduce the density by 50%. We just couldn't make the an affordable set-aside work at this low density.
Okay,
Simple
so
answer.
let me go another 2 steps or another year, where I know you say we're in control when we have special permit projects. However, when some applicants come before us and they say, well, now we're going to use this amendment and we're going to make it, we're not going to put affordable in, or we're going to do it all affordable one way or the other, you know that sometimes we end up in court and we lose because it doesn't have affordable or it does have. So I guess what I'm worried about is approving this text amendment would mean going down the road, A, you're adding more to our affordable, not affordable ratio by putting 12 units here. And then it might be used against us down the road, and literally down the road on Middletown Avenue, saying, well, you don't have enough affordable, so now we're going to take something and shove it at you because you don't meet the affordable requirements. So I guess I'm really upset we don't have anything affordable in here.
Well, yes.
You know what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, no, I
to
know.
you.
I know exactly what you're saying.
Right.
Yes, but the numbers here that we're now talking about in density are pretty low, and you can talk about shoving them over to some other part of town, but we're talking 1, 2, 3 units.
No, I wasn't talking about shoving them over to another part of town. I was talking about something else. I mean, we will end up with something perhaps in court. I'm not happy that, I don't understand, even if it's 12 units, why we don't have one affordable. That doesn't make sense to me, and it's only an economic argument on your part, or your client's
There's
part.
the economic argument. I will also tell you from experience that when you have a building that has 1 or 2 affordable units, very difficult to administer because the efficiency of the administration is when you have 5, 10, 15, 20 affordable units. Small buildings with 1 or 2 affordable lots kind of get lost in the enforcement system. That's just my experience.
Sure.
Okay, all right, I'm going to stop for now.
Yeah, okay. Well, as we're going along here, that we're certainly concerned about the packed in, it's so dense and there's no room and the affordable isn't there at all and affordable doesn't work
Well,
according to you.
there's no affordable, not because of a space problem.
Right, but it's all because of the size. Okay, but
But wait,
I don't have
hold
to-
on, the text amendment doesn't have anything in there
No.
about affordable either.
No, that's right, that's correct. That's correct.
Right.
Okay,
So that would pass on to the other units if we were to approve that, other areas.
yep, that's correct. Rich?
So when I looked at some of these plans here, yes, it'd be nice to develop that lot, but you have it, you took away the, was it 50-foot side yard, and the backyard is only, it's a 5-foot? I mean,
This has 2 front yards and one side yard. There's no rear yard per se. I mean, this is an unusual piece, and you're right. It's a dense proposal, even.
but if we allowed you to do that, and then somebody down the street wants to do it, how are we going to tell them, no, you can't have a 5-foot backyard?
Well, that's where your special permit powers come in. That's exactly what you can do. I appreciate your courtesy. Thank you.
Okay. That doesn't really answer my question, but,
How do you tell them no? You deny it if they propose it, because if it's going to have an impact. Commissioner Viel's was raising the issue of, what if somebody assembles parcels and it's one of those parcels or both of them is next to a residential neighbor? How do you mitigate the impacts? Those are all very legitimate questions. We're here to asking you about the concept of a mixed use and putting major parameters, what can and can't be done, and then that would be a green light to come back and really discuss whether a proposal like this would work. We think this one works, especially because you don't have any residential neighbors per se. But I hear what you're saying, Commissioner.
okay, thank you. I'm all set.
Go ahead.
Just had a couple of comments. Tim, you had an overall limit of 25 units per development, which has now been removed. just hypothetically, would you be agreeable to reinserting that sentence in addition to the 1,200 square feet per unit?
Yeah, I think so.
The other thing that I noticed, most of our more contemporary housing regulations include a paragraph with a specific requirement for architectural drawings when housing's involved. Just hypothetically, would you have any objection to adding a paragraph requiring floor plans, et cetera? You've provided them already, but...
So the answer is we would have no problem with that.
Okay. That's okay.
Thank you.
Good?
Good.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right?
I wasn't sitting.
No, he can't.
Oh, I'm sorry. Joe?
I'm not sitting either.
No, that's right, but it's just a public hearing.
Well, but they're not
You wanna
sitting.
speak?
I think if they're not sitting, but they're eligible, that's one thing, but
They're not
they're not eligible, so, and Rod as well.
You got any more from?
Not right now, no.
Good.
Okay, does that, okay, we're going to open this up to the public and have them what they say. First off, it looks like we got an awful, how many folks here are here for this application? Look, okay, so you're going to have to keep it short, and I don't want to have to cut you off, but you certainly can't have any more than 5 minutes at the mic. That would be it. And I'm just going to start off in the front here, because I know Mary wants to get in here, and she had been around and wrote letters and whatever else. So Mary, if you want to come up and speak first, go ahead. And this is in opposition to the...
Why don't you ask if somebody's in favor first, no?
Who's in
Usually
favor?
ask if somebody's in favor
Yeah,
first,
okay.
no?
Well, let me do that. You're absolutely right, Jeff. Okay, is there anybody here in favor of this application? Okay, so we do have someone out there. Okay.
I'm not talking. Would it be a middle?
Oh, yeah. Yep.
Good evening. My name is Jeff Smalley. I live on 27 LeGrand Road in North Haven. I am a tremendous fan of this project. I look back on September 9th when we had the original discussion on this, and I think that the developer applicant has done a very good job in addressing the council's request to limit the amount of units on the space where they're at. I did this last time, I'm going to do this today, and I'll ask a question, right? What is the option? So I heard the council very clear today, and it was over 25 years, there's been many options that have come before the council in terms of ideas and building development projects and whatever they may be. But at the end of the day, we want to develop this town at the best possible note that we want, and it is the gateway into North Haven. The millennials are developing at a faster rate. There's over 70% of millennials right now that are renting homes or renting apartments outside of buying homes. As a matter of fact, the millennials that are buying homes are doing what they're called super commutes, where they're commuting so far away that they can't bear the burden of commuting so far into town. So it causes so much stress into their environment. Where am I going with this is that the project is done in a very beautiful manner. They went from 26 units down to 12 units. I think the only obstacle here is the affordable right question. But at the end of the day, there's down to 12 units that really does beautify right North Haven. I am a tremendous fan of this project, and I do think it should go off. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Is there anyone else like to speak in favor of this application? Okay, Mary?
Excuse me, Mary White Summer Lane, town resident for 29 years.
Speak up, Mary.
I'm sorry. Mary White Summer Lane, town resident for 29 years. I would first like to thank the commission for all their hard work and dedication. It is most appreciated. I want to thank you for always making the priority the impact proposals would have on the public's health, safety, and welfare. I would also like to thank you for the opportunity to speak. relative to the proposed amendment to change the zoning regulations to allow residential apartments above commercial CB20 zone parcels on Middletown Avenue and Quinnipiac Avenue in Montouise, I am not in favor for many reasons, and I ask the commission to vote no. The amendment reduces the CB20 minimum lot area from 20,000 feet to 15,000 feet, reduces the front yard from 50 feet to 15 feet, reduces the rear yard from 25 feet to 15 feet, reduces the side yard from 12 feet to 5 feet, and increases the maximum building coverage from 25 feet to 35 feet. Let's see what a 5-foot side yard distance looks like, shall we? Tom has graciously volunteered to help me demonstrate.
Poor Tom.
Poor Tom has been away. Stop at 5 feet.
Yep.
Okay. Everybody see? Thank you, Tom. As you can see, 5 feet is an extremely tiny amount of distance between the side yards of a 3-story building and the parcel next to it. The amendment includes 1 parking space per bedroom. What happens when there are 2 people living in one apartment? Most couples do not share 1 car. Most people have and drive their own cars. Where will the other residents park their cars if there is only 1 parking space per bedroom? The amendment does not limit the number of bedrooms to 1 per apartment for CB20 parcels who qualify to utilize it. The amendment includes the shared parking concept, which is flawed due to factors beyond the control of a property owner and tenants in the apartments. What happens if 2 people living in a 1-bedroom apartment both have cars and both stay home during the day? The shared parking concept is fundamentally flawed when in combination with commercial and residential, because while the hours of operation of the commercial business can be known and posted, lifestyles of the people living in the apartments cannot be subject to authoritarian control where they must report and post when they leave and when they come home to their apartments. Another reason I am not in favor of this amendment is, if approved, it could be utilized by other owners of CB20 parcels, which would result in much overdevelopment. I wondered how many, and so Tom and I visited the Land Use Department and spoke with Alan Frederickson, Land Use Administrator. I asked him how many other CB20 parcels on Quinnipiac Avenue and Middletown Avenue in Montouise could utilize this amendment. Alan went to the big map of the town of North Haven on the wall and began counting and counting and counting. Finally, he said between 35 to 40 additional parcels. The New England charm of Montouise in North Haven will be gone forever if this amendment were to be passed. Instead, we could have 40 3-story buildings with residential apartments above first-floor commercial lined up and down Middletown and Quinnipiac Avenues in Montouise. While a special permit would be required, the commission would be hard-pressed to deny any other proposals that would come before the commission that qualifies to utilize the amendment. When would the commission vote no? Would it be after 5 proposals? Would it be after 25 proposals? I see the commission getting sued. How does this amendment benefit the town? It does not. The commission must consider the onslaught of traffic on Quinnipiac and Middletown Avenues, excuse me, that would result if the amendment is approved, and if 40 CB20 parcels decided to utilize the amendment. This would result in probably 1,000 cars, and that's going with the minimum. 1 bedroom, not 2, 2 people per bedroom, each with a car, 12 apartments, so that's 24 cars times 40 parcels, which is an excessive amount of additional cars on Quinnipiac and Middletown Avenues, which of course will result in car accidents. That figure of 1,000 cars is grossly underestimated because the other 40 or 35 to 40 CB20 parcels could be larger. And so they could propose more apartments and possibly two-bedroom apartments, which would mean more people and possibly more people with cars. The commission must also consider how the amendment is contrary to the town's plan of conservation and development, where responsible development incorporating open space is encouraged. I could not find it anywhere where it stated overdevelopment is recommended in the town of North Haven. The commission must also consider the impact this amendment would have relative to the residential component and the impact on public safety, police, fire, and emergency medical services. Consider, if you will, the minimum density using only one-bedroom apartments, allowing 2 people per bedroom as an example. Say 40 CB20 parcel owners decided to utilize the amendment. That's 24 people times 40 parcels. There could be an influx of almost 1,000 people. Obviously, the figure is grossly underestimated because other CB20 parcels are more likely larger, and so of course they could propose more apartments and possibly 2-bedroom apartments, resulting in more people. To conclude, I ask the commission once again to vote no on the proposed amendment because if approved, it would result in overdevelopment of possibly 40 CB20 parcels with 3-story buildings with only 5-foot side yards. It would cause public health and safety hazards due to traffic. It would negatively impact and strain police, fire, and emergency medical services. It is contrary to the town plan of conservation and development. It would forever destroy the New England charm of Montouise, and the amendment has no benefit to the town. Thank you.
Thank you, Mary. Now, next one that's going to come up, please don't say the same thing that Mary said. Give me on something new. You want
They could just agree.
Absolutely.
Okay, does anyone else? Hold on. You were last in the door. Anyone else like to speak here? Sure.
Yeah, my name is Kevin Konopka. I live at 18 Potter Road. I live in the town for 54 years. And Mary, you did a really good job. You summed it all up.
Thank you.
The only thing you didn't say is about the burden on maybe the Montouise school.
Sure.
Okay. But
Director.
well, I just wanted to say one thing to Mary. I want to say thank you for the commission as well for really taking 26 years to kind of figure out Montouise. You're being very selective and making the right decisions, and I thank you for making the good decisions, okay? Hopefully in the future you'll make very good decisions as well. I've been a carpenter for 40 years, so I've done a lot of projects. Something like this, it can be drawn very pretty on paper. Don't get fooled, because there's a lot here. Okay, you could draw, it could look beautiful, landscape, it's good, there's too much going on, okay? Beautiful job, you did, you maxed out, you drew a beautiful building, landscape, it's just too much. If it's a 1,000 square foot commercial property, you could have 7 cars there on it all the time. You could double the amount of parking from the residents. That means you're going to overload into the Rite Aid. You're going to run into parking at First Fuel. You're going to be at Julio's and Bill's Hardware. You're going to be parking. I think at certain points there may be an overload of parking that's going to go on. And the commission is very well of this. James, you did a great job in explaining your density situation. I just think it's a nice looking project, gateway to North Haven. It may be a little too high, maybe, right at you. That might be a little bit too much, but I just think it's a little bit too much trying to fit that in that piece of property. That's all. Just you need to tone it down. You could do something nice there, but I think you need to scrap it and start all over again. You could do something there. I know you can. You're a developer, you're a carpenter. You're maxing out, man. It's just going to be a little bit, just a little too much, that's all.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Okay, anyone else like to speak? Sure, go ahead, sir.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Nick Piscatelli. I live at 9 Quinnipiac Avenue. And my wife and I have lived there for 46 years. Yes, we've noticed Middletown Avenue for many of those years, 102. There is no doubt that something should be done to improve the parcel. But the current proposal is just plain ridiculous. As this board has previously noted, logic and common sense make this project impossible. This developer is trying to put 10 pounds of garbage in a 5-pound bag. This is for a personal financial gain with no benefit to our town. Also, has this board taken into consideration that as for as long as we can remember, this property was considered contaminated ground because of the rotted oil tanks buried there, which were a big reason why the property was never developed. No one wanted to undertake the massive environmental cleanup that was needed. And now you want to put apartments on this property? Have we lost our logic and common sense? I sure hope not. Thank you for your time.
Thank you very much. 1 second, Tom. Anyone else? Go ahead. Come in, sir.
I got to go to 5.
Good evening, Planning and Zoning Commission members. Joseph DiMartino, 10 Papa Lane. Well, gateway to North Haven. You know what would make a good gateway to North Haven? Demolish the damn thing. If you go past this thing right now, this is what you see. A bunch of garbage dumped over there. At the last scheduled meeting, the garbage was there, and this landlord hasn't even cleaned it up to this day, unless it happened after 9 o'clock this morning. So he's not doing a very good job of taking care of this property. So how can we trust him to build anything and take care of it? Well, I don't think so, just based on how it's been taken care of. He said he bought it 6 months ago, but actually he bought it in September, according to the town record, September of 2018. Paid like $54,000 more than it's appraised at. I think he wasted his money. Now, I got to counter a couple of things. At the September meeting, the Attorney Hollister said there were no residential houses in the area. Well, I don't know what you call the 4 houses on Middletown and the 2 on Quinnipiac in the immediate vicinity, but that looks like 6 residential houses to me. So the border back here is there's nothing there except the pothole driveway right near where Broadway Cleaners used to be. Another blighted property that the guy who owns Monoway's Liquor doesn't want to fix up. Now, we got to counter another point that was made by Mr. Smalley, and he's claiming that millennials aren't buying houses. Well, if you respect Forbes magazine and what they say, according to Forbes magazine, millennials have represented the largest share of the home buying market for the past 5 years in a row, with last year's share at 36%. Millennials are buying houses, especially when they're starting families. And I got proof of that in my own neighborhood, right across the street from me, and just a couple of houses down, 30-something young families. They got babies less than 6 months old. They're buying houses. So for somebody to come up here and just make a statement that millennials aren't buying houses, well, I think maybe he passed his business courses, but he's flunking sociology. So.
Well, Mark, Mr. DiMartino submitted photo exhibit 2-1.
So, like I said, there's essentially, in September, Mr. Hollister, no residential neighbors. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Conveniently left off of here. So, also, you're going to put 12 units on .37. That property is only .37 acres. So, this is just a bad idea. Even Mr. Carlson himself said it's a stretch the last time. Now, we'd like to see something done with this, but it's been this way for this long. The best thing you can do is just get rid of this property, just demolish it. If you look at it from, if you take a walk into Peters Rock, even the roof is collapsing. The roof's collapsing. There's holes in the garage doors. There's probably all sorts of varmints and critters running around this thing. Be better off with nothing there. The big question here is the zoning change. You don't want to make a zoning change where you're going to allow a lot of apartments to be built in similar types of areas. Now, at Upper Washington Avenue, all the neighbors were in here for Fantasia. Because of that, because Upper Washington Avenue is designated as that special district, this commission was almost forced to approve the huge project they're going to put into what used to be Fantasia. And all those neighbors on that street in back of Fantasia were in here opposing it, and they couldn't do anything. Why? Because of the zoning change on Upper Washington Avenue. So we in Montauk don't want to see a zoning change. Forget about how it looks. Forget about landscaping. The big issue here is zoning change, and we don't want it. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Come ahead. I'm sorry.
Hi, Cheryl Apuzzo, Lock Drive. So I've lived in town for 59 years, and I live in Montauk for half of that. And while this is beautiful to look at, and I work at Medtronic, so I pass this building twice a day. The traffic in that area is horrendous, so to add to that is one thing. But I also think that the parcel of land is way too small for this type of a building. I think it would be great on a larger, but not in this area. On a larger piece of land, but not in this area. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Yep. Yeah, come on.
Okay. I forgot what I was going to say. You know, we already got stuck with, Joe Missouri, Claudian Road, and I've lived in town for 39 years. I'd like to say we already got stuck with Lexington Gardens. We all know that, which we weren't happy with. And I thought that was bad enough, but this is going to be worse. What they're going to create is an inner city out of Montauk. When they build this and then it spreads all over like a blight, it's going to be a mess, and we don't want that in our area. You see this in New Haven, and we're not New Haven. We're lovely. It used to be a lovely country town. And I can see the apartment buildings on Washington Avenue. Some of them are beautiful. And I know some of the young kids, millennials, who are living there. That's the right place over there, but we're a neighborhood, and I don't think this would be right. Also, the traffic is horrendous. About 2 weeks ago, well, maybe a month ago now, we had another collision on Cloudland, a head-on collision right at the top of the hill near where I live. Quite serious. They had to, I guess, they had to use the jaws of life to get the fella out of there. And you know something funny? We heard the collision. There was 9 squad cars on the road, the ambulances. Nothing in the paper. It was never mentioned. It was mentioned once on the computer, and then that was it. We don't have a reporter that reports any of this. There's so much that goes on in town that you'd like to know about. And there is no reporter that reports for North Haven. That's another issue. But I would not like to see this built. I do think the parcel's too small, definitely. What they should do is landscape it and make it that would be a beautiful, with flowers, and that would be a beautiful entryway into Montauk. Thank you.
Thank you, Joe. Anyone else? Anyone else like to add? Okay. Ellen, you want to get a comment? Yeah, Tom, come on ahead. I'm sorry.
Mary's raising Tom's hand.
Tom White, Summer Lane. For the record, I'm opposed to this amendment moving forward. And I was asked by town resident Michael D'Amodio to read a letter in his absence. He's out of state, so he's not able to be here this evening. To the North Haven Planning and Zoning Board, my name is Michael Amodio of 204 Quinnipiac Avenue. I am writing this letter to the board because I cannot be present in person in that I will be out of the state. I am firmly against the motion to amend section 4.4.2 and add section 4.4.3.39 and section 4.4.3.11 to permit residential apartments above first-floor commercial buildings in the CB20 district along Quinnipiac and Middletown Avenues. I've lived in the Monowee section of North Haven since 1952, first on Fitch Street and presently at 204 Quinnipiac Avenue. I know the area intimately. The traffic on Quinnipiac and Middletown Avenues at certain times of the day is so busy that many times it takes me several minutes just to exit my driveway on Quinnipiac. At the proposed location, exiting the property at either Middletown or Quinnipiac Avenue would, I believe, cause a dangerous situation for an auto accident just begging to happen. In addition, the property could not safely accommodate any sort of structure that would generate additional auto traffic in this area. Furthermore, the proximity of the traffic light at the corner of Quinnipiac and Middletown Avenue would present a major problem both entering and exiting the property. I'm also against these types of changes along all CB20 locations on Middletown and Quinnipiac Avenue. Respectfully, Michael Amodio.
Good, thank you very much. Anyone else?
Mr. Chairman, I'd just like to say you received 2 letters in your package, and Tom was nice enough to read one. The other was actually an email from Sally Hopkins of 19 Arrowhead Road. I'm writing in regard to the PZC zoning issue in the Monterey section that you'll be including in your meeting postponed to November 12th. Short and sweet, I'm opposed. If there's a vote taken that evening, I oppose.
That's me, and I'm here.
Okay. So duly noted. But they received the email copies of it.
Okay.
Exhibits at all?
Pardon?
Exhibits in Marketplace?
No, it's on the records.
Okay, very good. So, seeing no more, I think we got the message, but I'd like to get a count on how many people are really here in opposition to this application. But just by a show of hands, if Alan could count for me, it'd be good.
Hold on. Okay, I show 25.
25?
I count 25.
Okay. Okay, gentlemen, you want to respond to?
Just a couple of comments. I understand that many of you are veteran commission members, and you've certainly heard your share of opposition to proposals. I think the standard first response is, okay, we understand what you're against. What are you for? What's your vision? I didn't hear anything about what people's vision is for this property other than perhaps a public park, which would not be anything that a private entity would do. I assume you understand that calculations like 2 people in a small one-bedroom apartment, less than, say, 600 square feet, times 12 apartments, times 40 parcels, all of a sudden, just by this proposal that's in front of you, we're adding 1,000 people to this CB20 district. Really? Come on. Please be a little realistic. You do have the option to be more specific as to what parcels would be eligible if, for example, you wanted to amend the regulation to say it needs to be a parcel that has frontage on both Quinnipiac and Middletown. That would quite limit, it would be far less than 40 parcels. This parcel would qualify. And lastly, there were comments about, it being an eyesore, the being there is debris, potential contamination. I think you understand that development is how properties get beautified and cleaned up. So please understand, talk about a benefit to the town. This has been a vacant eyesore for a long time. This is a way to move the process forward. We're not asking you to approve 3 stories or 12 apartments tonight. We're asking you to give us a green light to come back with a specific proposal. I certainly think Mr. Frederickson has given us some good additional guidance. Impose the 25-unit cap. Require architecture and materials as part of the site plan process. If you want to amend the proposal in that direction, that's fine with us. But to just say no, I don't think solves the problem. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Commission, anything else?
You good?
No, I'll leave it at that.
Well,
No, I do want to say something.
you do?
I do,
Okay.
and I want to address, I guess, Mr. Smalley, too, because I do like some of the parts of this proposal, but I want to note that you live on LeGrand, and you know that there's going to be no apartments built next to your residential lot. So when we're looking at this, yes, there might be good things about this one project, but it doesn't translate to people who live up the street, who live in their residential lots, who may have this literally 5 feet from their houses. So I don't think the board should be painted with a broad brush of being against something like this. We have to understand this is an amendment that affects a lot of other areas, not just this one parcel. So I want to make that clear to people who are watching and to you, because that's not necessarily what we're against. So, and I make that clear to the applicant as well. Thanks.
Okay. Anything else?
No, that's fine, thank you.
Okay, that will close this public hearing, folks. Thank you, folks. Thank you all. We're going to see what the time, the hour is there. We'll let you know about that. But
All right,
we're going to take a 10-minute break to get to the room.
That wasn't on the record.
Did you hear that?
That wasn't on the record.
All right, we're back.
We're back.
Okay, folks, we're back from our short break, and right now I see our town attorney has arrived, and we have to get into executive session here for a short period of time. So you folks can wait here. It'll be a very short break that we're taking, but we have to do it now. She has other appointments that she has to keep up on. So, Jim, you want to
So I'll make a motion that we go into executive session and we invite the town attorney, our land use administrator, and our town engineer to come with us.
And I'll second that.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, we're going to executive session, folks. We'll be right back.
So I have to read those, right?
No, you have to read.
One.
Yeah, you gotta read, yeah, you just gotta read this.
Okay, fine. And say we're taking it.
Okay, are we
Say
on?
we're taking
I don't know, it looks the same as it did a minute ago.
it.
Jennifer, you need nothing, right?
Okay.
Right, okay.
We're not back in.
He's on.
Okay, so you need
I
a
make a motion that we come out of executive session and go back into our regular meeting.
second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, folks, we are back. Okay, Teresa, you want to?
Number 2 is P19-25, continuation of the subdivision application of Senior Luxury Housing LLC, applicant FPJ Investments LLC owner, for 8 lots relative to 79T, 87, 87T, 91, 95, and 95 Warner Road. Map 40, lots 39 through 44, plan entitled Proposed Cluster 3 Subdivision, 79T, 87, 87T, 91, 95, and 95 Warner Road, North Haven, Connecticut, prepared by Milona McBroom, dated June 25, 2019, scale 1 inch equals 80 feet, R40 zoning district.
Okay.
And we're
Dan,
going to take
you
that
wanna
with
let the
the
record-
special permit?
You want to let the record show that we're going to take the 19-25S and the special permit on this at the same
So you
time?
should read in the special.
Yes. I didn't turn the page. P19-25S, continuation of the special permit application as authorized by section 2.5.1 of the Senior Luxury Housing LLC, Applicant, FPJ Investments LLC owner for 8 lots relative to 79T, 87, 87T, 91, 95, and 95 Warner Road, map 40, lots 39 through 44. Plan entitled Proposed Cluster Re-Subdivision 79T, 87, 87T, 91, 95, and 95 Warner Road, North Haven, Connecticut. Prepared by Mylona McBroom, dated June 25, 2019, scale 1 inch equals 80 feet, R40 zoning district.
Okay, thank you. Okay, someone has the applicant here? Okay.
Good evening. For the record, my name is John Gilmore with Mylona McBroom Engineering. Office is located 99 Realty Drive in Cheshire. I'm representing the developer this evening on the project. If you recall, we were here in October, and I made a brief presentation. Let me just reacquaint you. We're proposing an open space subdivision on Warner Road, on what is known as the Borelli Farm. We're proposing 7 lots, basically frontage lots with 1 flag lot, 1 rear lot in the back. The whole parcel is about 109 acres in total, about 88 acres in North Haven. The application before you deals with the about 8 acres, which are the 7 lots. The other parcel is the remainder of the 80 acres left behind in North Haven. If you recall, we're proposing an open space subdivision, but we're obliged to show you what a conventional subdivision would look like. So, last month, I showed you this map. So it shows all of the 7 lots in a full-size parcel. They range in excess of about an acre to somewhat more, with this large lot number 2 at about 105,000 square feet, a little over 2 acres. So this is what could be done as a matter of right under the current zoning regulations. We're proposing an open space subdivision that'll generate the same number of building lots, 7 building lots, with lot number 8, the remaining 80 acres. But in this particular case, this land over here is retained as open space, and each of the lots are reduced in size to about 3/4 of an acre. It will be sewered, and it will have public water. There is public water on Warner Road, which I'll explain in just a moment. Sanitary sewers are shown coming up from Longview Drive in this vicinity. WPCA will have final jurisdiction over where that sanitary sewer goes. So the other option would be to extend it in Warner Road. Warner Road was paved a few years back, I don't remember how many. It would require a fairly significant disturbance. This, I think at last meeting, Mike Bennett was here, couldn't make it this evening, showed a sewer stub that would come up along this right-of-way that would access, so we can provide that sanitary sewer stub towards Warner Road. Again, if you recall, I explained we're taking this route because it serves us the best and still provides a stub out to Warner Road for those 4 or 5 houses that may wish to tie in. They're on septic system right now. This is actually a longer run, requiring a more expensive alternative for us, but it suits the project better. If you recall, last month there was an issue of clarification of the water. There is a new 12-inch water main that was put in on Warner Road. That water main basically terminates at the town line in North Haven. It's a one-way feed, but the flow tests that were performed, in my opinion, were satisfactory to serve the project. We had just about 1,000 gallons per minute float on the hydrant in this vicinity. When you translate down that to 20 PSI, that's how you rate it. It's about 1,600 gallons per minute. in discussions with the fire chief and the assistant chief, their concern was twofold. One was response time from the nearest fire station, and the second was, I guess the barn on the property burned a number of years ago, and they had some issues with sustaining water pressure at the time. In meeting with the chief and the assistant chief, it was agreed that we would put in a residential sprinkler system in each of those houses. And that would satisfy the chief until such time as the water main is eventually looped back to an existing part of the RWA system. There's been some talk about extending it through the development off of Benedict, and I'm just drawing a blank on the name of that. That would get to Half Mile Road and connect in there. But largely, that's a function of the Regional Water Authority's capital improvement plan. Frankly, they wait for other people to develop parcels so they can get the water main put in, rather than have to capitalize that cost and have ratepayers pay for it. So that's it in a nutshell. We did meet with the chief and the assistant chief on the 5th of November, I believe. There was a letter written by Mike Bennett of the project team that indicated the chief would be amenable to alleviating his concerns about the project. And I believe there's an email from the chief to that effect, if I'm not mistaken, Alan.
There is.
So I think that concludes our presentation, and give you an update on where we stand at our last meeting in October.
Okay. Andy, what do you think about the sewers and running in the back of it?
Well, I said from the very start that I think the sewer should be in Warner Road.
Yeah,
as a public utility available to,
It's available to everybody.
Right.
Do we have a say in that as a commission? Or, I know it's up to WPCA, but can we recommend?
Oh, you can certainly recommend.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right,
Now, I brought this up with the WPCA at the last meeting, and they kind of conferred with what my take on that was, is they'd rather see the sewer out in Warner Road.
Right.
Now, I've extended the option in my comments that, if you want to bring it before the WPCA, I'm happy to have you there, happy to have, that open discussion with them.
Yeah, I think we like that opportunity, Andy, largely because the sewer actually ends on Longview. And
Can you do me a favor and
Yes.
turn that a little bit so I can see it
yeah,
as
sorry.
you're pointing? I know we're trying to accommodate the public, but I kind of need to see it too.
Sure. So, Warner Road, our frontage lots, the sanitary sewer was going to go behind the lots down in this direction.
Yeah.
And this little piece actually sticks on here. So it would go straight down to the cul-de-sac on Longview, where the sewers presently are there. And I guess there was an easement already provided for a sewer extension in that location.
And you're recommending that it be in front of those houses as opposed to behind them?
Right, run it down Warner Road in the public right of way. Right.
Okay.
I mean, that's certainly a consideration. I think Mr. Bennett, when we was here last month, actually showed a sewer extension that's not reflected on this plan, that as an option, we could extend it out to the street here, so those folks can tie in if they wished.
Well, which folks can tie in? I don't know.
There's about 4 or 5.
On the other side of the street?
Yeah. Okay. The sanitary sewer ends right down the road here, so it would be possible to extend it. And as I said before, it's a cheaper alternative, slightly cheaper for us. But the question is, what would we have to do to Warner Road? We probably would have to repave the whole thing again.
But if you put it behind the houses, I just want to understand this. If you put it behind the houses, those people across the street couldn't tie in.
Only by benefit of this easement that would come out to here. So we could extend the sewer out to Warner Road at this location.
Well, you're talking about connecting to a point rather than a line.
Right.
Well, or either that or they would have to extend it themselves if there was a need to do that. I mean, they're 1-acre lots. Typically, the house has a functioning septic system and probably has a reserve area designated for it. That's the way they're usually laid out.
So let me just understand where we are. Is this the province of WPCA, or can we say we want it out on Warner Road?
Well, I think ultimately it's up to the WPCA. They're the ones that are going to manage that system once it's installed, so it's really up to them to make that call. But if you guys feel strongly one way or another about it, by all means, happy to have your recommendations, come into their meeting for the next meeting and we can talk about it.
Okay, so all we can, that's what I'm trying to understand. All we can do is recommend it?
I want to make a comment here. I think that while ultimately the WPCA determines this, if you were to come over the top with a requirement, you've got a special permit here.
Yeah, right. So we could say that that's where we want it, and then if WPCA says no, they would have to come back, no?
Could work it that way.
Well, you're working on it with Andy, but I mean, the police.
Yeah, I'm not looking to cause problems. I'm just trying to.
I think it's incumbent upon us to show you that the parcel can be sewered, and it can be sewered in one of two ways at least.
We're not just worried about your parcel, that's the problem.
I understand that.
So we're worried about the people
honestly,
across
we
the
are,
street.
because
Yeah, no, I get it.
we're building the sewer, we're building it largely for our benefit.
I get it.
With the fact that the folks on the other side of the street may not wish to connect at all.
Well,
They still have, there's still a cost associated with
No
them
question.
to do that.
But at least then they'd have the ability, and the idea of having the ability to tie into a sewer is a pretty big deal. So that would just be my feeling on it. Now, explain the water to me, if you would. When you're saying there's water that services, is the water all the way down Warner Road?
Yes.
All the way across the front of
It
this property?
passes right across the front of our site, all the way down to, is it Benedict?
Yeah, well, I think it's down to the side street and it goes in through there.
But whatever, it's
No, I think-
across
yeah.
your property.
It fronts our property, there's hydrants there already.
So I see what the police chief's email says, that ultimately you're going to put these sprinklers in unless you convince him that your flow is still sufficient. He's not convinced now,
Well,
right?
I explained to him that he's asking for a fire protection for this area of 500 gallons per minute. That's what a single-family residential lot would require. We have in excess of that. We have almost 1,000 gallons a minute, even with the dead-end main. Typically, what happens is the fire department doesn't actually connect a hose line to the hydrant. They connect their pumper truck and throttle the pressure. So they can draw down all the way to 20 PSI, pounds per square inch, in that main and deliver 1,600 gallons per minute at the source of the fire. So he understands all that. He said, but logistically, I had an issue when I fought that fire on the barn. So RWA is looking into the cause of that. The infrastructure was all in place, and it's all brand-new main. It was put in 2018. But it is a dead-end main, which would eventually, they'd like to loop it for a variety of reasons, including water quality. But in the interim, the chief said, until that happens, we want you to put in residential sprinklers for each of the buildings complying with NFPA requirements. And we're willing to do that. If such time is the water company finds that they can extend the main and loop it back in and satisfy the chief, then that requirement goes away.
But that's what so his email says that you're going to put these in, and if for some reason you think you have satisfied the requirements, he's got to give you something in
That's
writing
right.
that
He's
says,
gotta-
which is all, that's our
And we had that discussion 2 months ago,
okay,
yes.
So you're on board that you're either putting sprinklers in or keeping him happy in writing back to us that
Exactly.
it's okay.
Let me ask you, is it pressure there's a problem, or is it volume?
No, it's actually neither. From when the flow test came back to me, there's 61 pounds per square inch static pressure in the main. That's pretty good. Optimally, the water company will operate their water system at as low as 25 pounds per square inch up to 125 pounds. So that 60 PSI is right smack in the middle, and that's where they like to be. So pressure's okay. The flow rate is okay. But when the chief explained that when they fought the fire at the when the barn caught fire in 2018 or 2019, he said he was experiencing some fluctuation in the water that was coming out of the system. And it could be that there was a valve that was partially shut, which is not uncommon. So the water company is going to investigate that. And when I spoke to them, they're also going to look into the possibility of what it would take to extend the main from the North Haven town line and loop it back in, probably towards Middletown Avenue.
Yes, yeah. Well, I misunderstood. I thought it was the volume. They were running out of water with plenty of pressure.
No, he said he experienced fluctuation in the flow rate.
I see.
But when you flow test the hydrant, the instantaneous flow rate and the instantaneous pressure, and what's called the static pressure, when you actually flow the hydrant, drops down. They all look pretty good.
So coming into the hose is plenty.
I think it's
pressure.
plenty, but
Yeah.
as I
Well,
say,
you're
the chief explained that when they fought the fire out there, he saw fluctuation.
In the chief's opinion, it was flow, not pressure.
It was flow, not pressure.
Well, there's a functionality between flow and pressure,
Yeah,
so, pressure drops off, you don't get the flow. Flow doesn't just go away, it's as a result of pressure drop.
But it would appear, Andy and I sat in a meeting on the 5th of November, and it appeared that he's satisfied with this particular condition.
So the systems the sprinkler systems are going in as to if you get a green light that the water is going to be brought up to date, up to what they need, then you're not going to put the sprinklers in. Is that correct?
That's right. That's where we go back to the chief and say, are you satisfied with the water main being looped, or the investigation that the water company has done to find out whether all the valves in that new line are in the full open position or not.
See, that's in a nutshell correct, but what Jim was getting at was the letter that was written and signed by Arnold Peck, ultimately the developer, indicated that if they brought the water in, they just didn't have to do them. And the chief countered back and said, okay, that's fine, but it still is subject to my sign-off and approval evaluation.
Okay. Well,
So if they don't disagree with that, it's okay.
Yeah, I don't think any of us disagree. There's some unusual circumstance as to why they're experiencing the drop in flow, which is as a result of pressure drop.
And all I care about is if he's going to let you agree with you, that he puts it in writing that he agrees with you.
Right. I think that is in an email already. So
It's in the email that you have to get his approval.
But I think there's an email on the record as well from him that he agrees that we'll put in the sprinkler system.
Right.
And that we'll have to come back to him if we want to eliminate those.
Correct. It's to come back to him if you want to eliminate them, that I want to confirm that we get something in writing that says that. Let me ask one other question. I see you've got comments by staff here. As construction of all improvements within the town right-of-way shall be completed, this includes sidewalks, driveways, aprons. Are there sidewalks on this parcel?
There are no sidewalks shown at the present time.
Is there, so, but there's no request for a waiver at this point, correct? Alan?
Hold on. No, it is my understanding there are sidewalks proposed for this.
Should be sidewalks,
in its
I
entirety.
apologize, Alan. Yeah, you know what, it doesn't show on this
Doesn't show on
grading
that,
plan.
that's what I was
It doesn't
looking
show
for.
on the grading
But
plan.
they're going. Okay.
But there's
In its entirety.
There's going to be
Yeah,
sidewalks.
it's
No
going to be
way.
sidewalks.
Sign, please. Thank you.
Yeah, it's not shown on the grading plan, but I think it's reflected in the bond estimate that was prepared. Is that correct, Andy? Yeah.
And on the other drawing.
Okay,
Yes,
all
on the
right,
other
all right.
ones.
Very good.
Now, just let me go back to the sewers, just a couple of questions on the sewers. You prefer to bring them in the back, or it doesn't make any difference to you?
We prefer to bring them in the back, largely because at some point in time, while we don't have a plan, this property drops off in this direction. So putting the sewer here benefits our ability to get something on this site into the sanitary sewers.
Okay.
Particularly in this location where it's going to be the lowest.
So it'd be a shorter run back there.
It's a shorter run, but the sewer is deep enough there to receive
Right,
the
so you
lower
can
elevations of the
run it
site.
right downhill there.
Where it
Sure.
would not necessarily be that way on Harrison Road.
But if you came down Warner Road and put your stub right in through that right-of-way, or the road going in there, wouldn't it be the same thing? You just get to the same place?
It's a question of grade. So, we'd have to be very deep in Warner Road.
Really?
In order to get this site to drain that way.
Because that's lower in the back.
Exactly.
right?
So, at Longview,
I
it's...
would leave that to Andy, that's all.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's easier, I shouldn't say it's easier. More of the site can be sewered.
That's good.
coming in off of Longview. That is our site.
Yeah,
Well, we have to hear from the
Okay.
public anyway.
all right, good enough.
And as I say, we'll have to listen to what WPCA has to say and whether there's, whether they feel a stub out here would be the appropriate thing or not.
Okay, well, I'm going to leave it up to Andy anyways. I just want what's good for the neighborhood.
Yeah, as I say, at some point in time, WPCA must have thought, because
Well, I know.
there is an
We were-
easement, there is an easement.
We were just there, remember that?
We were on the end of Longview.
Yeah, right, that's where it comes in. I can understand why I'd want to go there, yeah.
As an example with the water line is going to go, we'll say, running down Warner Road. You can end it off at your last house, and then whoever builds after you would just tap into that.
No, it's actually beyond us already. It was actually put in 2018.
I understand that, but the sewer line, if you cut the sewer line through your property there, what happens to anybody else on Warner Road?
Well, that's what I said. I think Mike Bennett, when he was here back in October, suggested that we could extend it out this way, towards Warner Road.
Right.
So that, if this person needed to get access, they'd have direct access to that manhole. But these folks would probably have to have a sewer extension in Warner Road, if it was needed. If their system failed and they had no other 100% reserve area as the public health code requires on their property.
No, I was, if anybody was building next to your lot down.
I think it's all developed
There's no
already.
room there.
That's all developed there?
Yeah, Longview's on one side of us, and there's a subdivision that's already developed on. Yeah, so there's nobody, I mean, the only other property is the applicant's property in North Branford.
All right.
Brian?
I'm not sitting, I'm this one here.
Oh, you're not sitting, okay. What else you got there?
Oh, that's true.
You good? Good.
Yeah, right now, I mean, we're going to hear from the public, so I may have
right
something
now.
after that.
Anybody else in the commission?
Just real quick on the bond recommendation.
Yeah.
I had come up with a number. Mike Bennett had come back with a different number. So I went back and forth with him, and I brought my bond recommendation down to 220.
If you're comfortable with that,
Yeah.
that's fine.
Okay. Okay, we'll go to the public and see what they have to say. Okay, is there anyone here would like to, okay, anybody here like to speak in favor of this? Okay, sure.
I'm not trying to discourage anyone whatsoever from talking, but I want to remind y'all that the comments made at the first public hearing are on the record already.
Right, everything that was said before is
You
here.
don't need to repeat what you said at the first.
You can come anyway.
Yeah, you can come, go ahead.
Absolutely.
I'm not sure.
Don't be afraid.
All right.
Well, that's
So
right,
I'm
say it
Marge
again.
Quinn, I'm at 11 Deer Run Lane. Marge Quinn, 11 Deer Run Lane. And I'm right across...
Deer Run.
Across the street from the project. So I don't really know anything about the houses, so I was interested in what type of house and how large they are.
They'll ask, you just make your comments and they'll respond later.
Okay.
No, just make your comment.
Yeah, so no, is there
I think that was
anything
her
else
own
you wanted to
question.
know?
Is there anything else you'd like to say?
Well, no, I was just, wondering what it's all about, really.
Okay.
I mean, I know we're talking about the water and everything, but I was just looking what
Now,
type
are you
of home.
directly across the street from this marsh?
Yeah, I'm on Deer Run, I'm it, right there.
Yep, I mean, are you directly worried if it would affect the sewers to you?
No,
you're
no, it
not.
won't affect, it's just across the street.
Well, across the street, I mean,
I think we may show deer run. Well, actually, it doesn't. Yeah, there's deer run right here.
Okay.
oh, I see, okay. I understand now.
Yeah, so I was just interested in what type of home.
Okay. He will tell you that when he gets through. Okay. Anyone else like to speak in favor? Okay.
Barbara Kovacs, 80 Warner Road. So I am directly in front of the proposed area that will not have any homes. So I have really strongly suggest that the sewers go in on Warner Road, because if it comes out of where they're saying, not only do I have to pay for an extension all the way down to where my property is, I would also have to repave the road, put the pipes in, which would be astronomical, as opposed to just hooking in if it was already on Warner Road. My second question would be, at the last meeting, I had asked if the street could come out, the proposed street could come out to Deer Run, so it would be street to street and not streets coming into a home, lights into the home. So those are my two questions.
Okay, thanks. Anyone else like to speak in favor? Anyone like to speak in opposition? Want to respond? Sir?
Surely. With respect to the house...
Can you get up to the mic? Sure.
Sorry. With respect to the type of homes and sizes, I don't have any specific information. It's just like a conventional subdivision. But I would expect that these homes would be comparable to what's in the neighborhood already. They're all shown with garages, so I'm going to guess they're all going to be at least a two-car garage. I'm going to guess that the houses are going to be at least in the range of 2,000 to 2,500 square feet. I'm going to guess that they're going to be colonial in nature because it's more economical to build them, but I can't say that with any certainty. But I think that's what the intention is here. I don't think we're going to have 700 square foot ranch slab on grades.
Okay.
And you've spoken to the sewer already, so.
Well, wait a minute, okay, but I have a question. What about the deer, because that was one of the comments that I was going to bring up after I heard from the audience. Moving it so we don't have cars, and I understand that, this is not that many, but when we have cars coming out of the subdivision.
Yeah, you know what, Deer Run is down here.
Right.
To be honest with you. It doesn't lend itself well for the balance of our site to do that. In fact, I think those two lots would be compromised because it would come right through those two lots at this location. So I think
is there no way to?
Well, usually what you want to do is either align it exactly opposite with no offset, or move it to a significant location so that they don't conflict. And usually the rule of thumb is 200 to 250 feet away from a roadway to have another roadway. Anything less than that, you could be compromising it. So we think that this is the appropriate location for it. If you put it down here, it's going to compromise the development of both our parcel as well as the development of those two lots.
Satisfied?
No, I got an answer.
I know.
I'm not satisfied.
Well, I know, well, you're satisfied, you've got the...
I got an answer, yes.
And I think, again, with respect to the sewer, I think the folks on Warner Road would be interested in having sewer available to them. I understand that. But they're not paying for the cost of the installation. And part of that is, we have to develop our own parcel. So we kind of like if we would have to build it out on Warner Road, then we'd have to build more sewer for our own project later on.
True, but that's something that this...
But again, that's a WPCA and their plan.
Well, I don't know if it's just WPCA.
It's part of a planning design too, and I mean, that's, so there are existing houses up there, and...
And she's one that has a failing system, I believe. She's one of the people I was thinking about.
Right, and we don't know about, the impact this is going to have, and I know we're going to try to mitigate impacts, but, we've done this before where we've wanted developments to put it up and put it in the road that exists, so.
We'll talk about it.
We'll talk about it.
Good enough. That's it, isn't it?
That's it for me, Mr. Carlson, yes.
Okay. Commission?
No, good.
No? Okay, very good. Staff? Good enough?
All set.
Okay. Close this.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Teresa?
All that stuff in the front. I didn't see why we can't move those. We can move those lots. We can move those lots,
I know. else. I wanted to talk to you
Okay,
before,
we
but
ready?
I didn't. Yeah. Would you read that in, please?
Which one? Oh, is Pratt Whitney off?
P19, P19.
You're up to 4.
Huh? Yeah, P19-35.
Okay, yeah, all right.
This is Pratt Whitney.
Our 19-35, excavation permit, field permit application of United Technologies Corporation, Pratt & Whitney Division, applicant MDC Coastal 9 LLC, owner relative to 409 Washington Avenue, map 90, lot 6, plan entitled Ecological Risk-Based Remediation, United Technologies Corporation, 409 Washington Avenue, North Haven, Connecticut, former Pratt & Whitney facility, permitting plans prepared by Fuss & O'Neill, dated September 2019, revised October 9, 2019, scale 1 inch equals 50 feet, IL 80 zoning district.
Okay.
Good evening, my name is Phil Forsley, I'm with Fuss & O'Neill. I've got your card. Everybody does. Thanks for having us tonight. I'm here representing United Technologies, Pratt & Whitney. And as you've heard, the purpose of the project is to remediate contaminated sediment and soil, and those are two different things I'll explain in a minute, from this property, which is behind the current Amazon distribution center. So there's a location map up here showing existing conditions. Down on the bottom is the Amazon building, parking behind Amazon. This is the Quinnipiac River. I know this is not a wetlands application, but the best way to present the location of this is to show you where the river is. And this is the Quinnipiac. So this is the lower terrace, is what it's commonly known as. It's a low area, a lot of wetlands, state and federal wetlands. We've been to the Wetlands Commission already and got conditional approval there. And the purpose of the project, again, is to take out contaminated material from this site. So there's two kinds of soils are being removed from two different places. One is in streams, and the other is out of streams. A lot of it is still in wetland areas. So we have those two types of remediation. The site's been studied in great detail, and a remediation solution has been established whereby we're going to take out 2 feet of soil in designated locations, and that'll eliminate the ecological risk that these soils present. So that's what the project's about. It's in a bunch of different locations I'm going to show you. Removing 2 feet of soil, having it disposed of properly, shipped off-site by a licensed hauler, disposed of at a licensed facility, and then clean soil brought back in, restore the streams, and then restore the areas outside of the streams. And we're here for an excavation permit to remove soil. And I think the biggest thing to present to this group are the haul routes and where the remediation areas are proposed. So on this map, again, it's the same base map, Quinnipiac River at the top of the sheet, distribution center down at the bottom of the sheet, and in the dark gray are the remediation areas. So that's contaminated soil. And that's where we're going to be taking out 2 feet in all locations. It's easier just to remove 2 feet than to dicker with a foot and 2 feet. It's easier just to do all one depth. It's an easier project that way. So 4 locations, moving from north to south here, along this stream here, narrow strip here, another one here, and another one here. And that's 5, not 4. The haul routes are shown in a heavy dashed line, so a lot of the access is going to be by the Amazon driveway, and Pratt & Whitney has access rights to that to do this work. So the light is all the way down off the bottom of the page, the main entrance, so vehicles will be able to come up, travel behind the Amazon building and behind all the parking, so it's separated from all the site traffic. Up to the west, and then not utilizing, Andy, I'm forgetting the name of the road that goes out to the industrial park.
To be honest with you, I'm not sure it has a name.
It may not have a name, okay. But it was, it's a nice road, it's a beautiful road. It was improved by Amazon, but there are some traffic issues down off-site, so we're not gonna head down here and use that.
Actually, Phil, that was built by the town.
Right.
As a condition of Amazon coming in.
Yeah.
That was one of the concessions.
It was built by the town. My apologies. Oh, okay.
Just a little bit.
It's such a nice looking road, I assume, yeah. So anyway, for people that have been out here, there's a gate that's back, it's back in here somewhere. So this is all paved. This is dirt, and there's a gate here. We're going to come through that gate, which is fine for construction access, because we're talking about construction, dump trucks. Come in here, there's a big flat area. If you've been out here at all, that's going to be it's a nice staging area for us. It's up high and dry, it's out of the wetlands. It's easy to control. We can put silt fence and hay bales around it and use that for just staging equipment at the end of the day. So then the access roads come through, they follow existing paths, and they're actually in pretty good shape. And where they're not, there's some areas that we call out on the plans, they're going to require some gravel because they're a little bit low, they're a little bit rutted. So we'll make those passable for construction vehicles and nothing more. It's just for construction access. And then, again, get in to access these remediation areas. And a lot of this is in wetlands, and this isn't a wetland hearing, but you can see these sort of hatched areas alongside the remediation areas. And those are timber mats. And you've seen those at UI, United Illuminating sites where this construction or Eversource. You've seen those. They come bolted or cabled together. They'll get stacked up here, at the beginning of the project and then spread in these areas just to eliminate impacts or minimize impacts to wetlands, and then taken out at the end of the project. So the way this is going to work is, again, it's an excavation permit, so the permit is to take out soil and bring soil back in. But it's going to be dewatered in place before it goes out. So it'll get excavated, again, 2 feet deep, piled up right where it is, dewatered, and then brought to one of 2 stockpile areas that we're showing before it's taken off site. This is blowing up a little bit, so the remediation areas are in orange. And we've got 2 stockpile areas. One just off of Valley Service Road here. So again, the material will have already been stockpiled in the wetland area, allowed to drain by gravity. Once it's dry enough to load and put in a dump truck, it gets hauled to this stockpile area. And another one to the farther to the north here. This is the larger one. This is going to hold the majority of the soil. And again, that staging area that I showed you is out here to the north more. We have enough stockpile here to store all the soil at one time. So if the contractor so chooses, he can do all the excavating, stockpile everything, and start taking it off. What he may choose to do is use just some of the stockpiles and take it off in batches. But this is a conservative design, so he can store everything on site if he needs to.
Sounds good.
And this is, you can't see this from where you are, but this is in your plan set. There's a cross-section through a wetland area here that sort of shows what I'm talking about. So again, it's just a 2-foot depth. Some of it is in stream, and some of it is outside the stream. And where we're doing in the work in stream, there'll be bypass pumping. So a cofferdam, sandbag cofferdam will get built upstream of where the work is going to happen. Water will get pumped from there. And again, this cofferdam is probably a foot high. They're really short. Get pumped all the way around the excavation area. Water gets pumped into filter bags, goes through a series of hay bales and so forth around it. Water bleeds back into the wetland from there, keeping the work area as dry as we can. And here's a detail of timber mats. There's not much of a detail there, but you've seen them before. They're big timbers all cabled together, bolted together, and they get laid out. And keeps the soil from getting really matted down.
Phil, do you have an estimated quantity of soil to be removed?
I have an exactish number. I have to get my plans out, but yeah, it's in the application. Let me grab that. Actually, you know what, Alan, I'll just look at the stockpile volumes. These are pretty conservative. This is easier. One pile is 560, the other one is 3,000 yards, so it's about 3,600 yards of soil.
Okay. Thank you.
asking you, for those of us who have no idea what that means, how many dump trucks is 3,600 yards?
Yeah, I have that on
It says
here.
it.
Let's find that for you.
Said it, yeah, said it somewhere.
I believe you, I've just never been any good at this.
Yeah,
Well, actually, put it on the
no.
plans, I just have to find it.
Yeah, it said it somewhere.
I'm just looking for an estimate, do you know?
Yeah.
Ballpark?
600 divided by about 20.
Yeah,
By
about
about
20, go ahead.
It's about 180 dump trucks.
Okay.
So it sounds like a lot of trucks. We
Yeah,
do numerous trucks per day. It's a
Not the worst roads for them to
15-week
go.
project, yeah. It's a, or 12-week project.
15 weeks?
12-week project. So
Okay.
3 months. And some of that is mobilizing, doing stabilization at the end of the project and then demobilizing. I think the plan showed 10 weeks, but it's probably 12 weeks by the time you do mobilization and demob. We're planning on 3 months. And yeah, that's really it. Clean soil, so everything's going to be tested. The soil gets tested before it gets loaded on the trucks and taken off-site, which is a requirement of the disposal facility anyway. But Pratt & Whitney is going to require the clean stuff to be tested before it comes on-site. And Fuss and O'Neill will be on-site full-time during construction. We've already talked about a pre-construction meeting with all the town staff. Inland Wetlands wants to be, or the wetlands agent wants to be present, I think, at the weekly construction meetings possibly. So we're going to hold a weekly construction meeting. Anybody who wants to come can come. We're going to have weekly reports, and the town will have access to all the testing results for the clean stuff that's coming on site. And trust me, it's Pratt & Whitney's best interest to have that site come out and be tested. If it comes on site and be tested, it'll be really good.
How actually are you going to clean, the soil you're taking out, how are you going to clean that up when you haul it out? Are you going to air dry it, or?
We're not going to. We're going to take it to a licensed facility. That's what they do.
I see. What about the trucks?
The trucks will be, the trucks will be decontaminated. We have a provision for collecting the decontaminated water.
I see, okay.
Yeah. The stockpiles, I'm glad you asked that question, because a reminder, the stockpiles will all be on plastic. So it's a, they call out the mill plastic thickness, that the contaminated soil will be set on when it's stockpiled. And at the end of the day, it gets completely covered with plastic. And weighed down with sandbags around the edges, so that if it rains, it just sheds off and doesn't, leach out of the soil. So it's good enough.
I'm sitting, material protocol for the soil coming in, you guys are happy with that?
Yes, I think that we're going to get reports as to what the soil would be, or just basically, it's not what it is, but just that it's clean.
Right, and I think one of the things that's going to happen is that this pre-construction, at the pre-construction meeting, we're going to go through all of this. So Alan and Andy will be there, and the wetlands agent will be there, and we'll explain what our plan is, and they can tell us if they want something different, and we have no issues with anybody requiring reporting or reports or making submittals. Yeah, we'll have all that information available.
Yeah, I have some general questions, because you're the first person that I can remember coming in front of us to talk about contamination at this site. We're told repeatedly that it's being assessed over and over again, and that DEP is involved in it. So I'm trying to understand exactly I get what's going on. We've had other remediation projects come in front of us, the big one with Pfizer. Let me ask a couple questions. One, is this whole project of whatever you're doing here overseen by DEP or some state agency or federal agency?
Yes, both. Yes, both. So DEP has been involved for years and years on this. There's a remedial action plan for the site.
For the whole site, right?
Yep. And the soil remediation part of it has been already, the whole thing's been vetted by DEP all along. Now, as part of so the answer is yes to that part.
Okay.
Indeed, they have a crack at it. If they want to see this, they have, if they can see it again, but they've already approved the remediation sort of overall plan.
This is for 5 particular sites or areas in the wetter areas of the site, correct?
Yep.
Let me just ask, and I know that's not what you're here for right now, has the rest of the site, let's say take out the wet area that you talked about, already been remediated? Or are there any issues in the rest of the site?
There's some in process now.
There is still some in process at the site?
Yep.
And who's overseeing that? Again, DEP?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
And the other thing we're getting, and I thought when we listened to the folks from Pfizer, the idea of digging stuff out and taking it off-site had sort of been discredited. That's not the correct term, but there were concerns about putting contaminated soil on the road. Is that not a concern?
This is an eco-risk. You can see the title of the project is ecological risk-based remediation. These are fairly low levels of contamination. So eco-risk means harmful to birds, wildlife, and the like. There is some aquatic toxicity that was noticed in the water, in the streams themselves, but again, they're fairly low levels. So the soil that's going off it's not hot soil. It's unsafe to, again, benthic organisms that live in the stream and in the sediment, and possibly birds and wildlife.
So it's not good for those, but not so bad that you can't put it in a truck and haul it out of there?
Absolutely.
That's essentially what you're saying?
Absolutely correct, yeah.
Okay.
And that would never be licensed or even allowed if it were... Yeah.
That was kind of, because there were some really bad things at the Upjohn site that couldn't get out of there, and they went and they burned them in the ground, and
this is not that kind of contamination.
It's just different, okay.
Yeah.
And these 5 sites, these 5 areas that you pointed out in this wetland, are they the only areas that have this problem? Or will there be other ones later? Is that it for the whole thing?
This is it. So I can tell you that Pratt & Whitney wants to do all the soil remediation on this site at one time.
Get it done.
Just get it done under one construction contract, just to make it, so it makes sense financially. So this is it.
Right. Okay. That's really all I had.
Yep.
Okay. I have no questions.
No questions?
The wetlands was okay, I'm good.
We're good to go there. Andy?
Yeah, nothing. All I can say is that we've worked together for months now on this thing in terms of access to the site, and there's been several proposals that have been floated around, and we arrived at this because I feel this is probably the best way to get in and out. And that was one of the big concerns through the wetlands process. So
just out of curiosity, what is the problem at Defco Park Road? You're telling me there's some problem, but I don't...
Well, we've had a lot of complaints from the industrial park itself on traffic.
About traffic?
Traffic coming in and out of Defco Park. The big concern is the left-hand turn for tractor trailers. When a tractor trailer comes up to that intersection, turns left, it blocks traffic trying to get by on the right-hand side.
Right.
So the whole road backs up. So the town just completed construction of a project to increase some of the stacking length at Defco Park Road. So we widened the road up a little bit. And
down at Washington Avenue, though.
Yes. Right down at Washington Avenue.
Is that where you were saying is the problem?
Yeah, that's where the biggest issue is.
Not in the area where you turn out of the site?
No.
Okay.
No. So that's been a big issue that we've been wrestling with that industrial park. So the town, I think $250,000 we spent to improve that road situation.
Right.
Now Amazon is using Defco Park to some extent for some traffic. Most of their traffic's on their own driveway, but they are using that.
Right.
And then there's the potential for the redevelopment of Olbricht's property down the end of Dodge Ave. The Old Dominion project that has been before this commission.
Right.
And that's another potential in terms of development. So we felt it would make sense for the town to spend some money to make some improvements out there to make that situation better.
I just want to know.
Yeah, so that's why I'm trying to pull traffic away from there and bring it through the Amazon driveway, which is a much better, wider much easier to accommodate traffic.
Or Valley Service Road.
Right. There was also another proposal that we were going to utilize Valley Service Road for some of the storage of materials, but we were concerned about that being a problem for access and, fire
So-
access, those kinds of things.
Did I misunderstand? Trucks will not be going down Valley
No,
Service
you will
Road?
have.
Yeah, no, I was going to say, I forgot to mention that too. It's shown on here, and it's so small that I forgot to mention it. But there's one remediation area here that we're going to access for
They
Valley
will
Service
be.
Road.
A little bit, okay.
Yeah,
But just
small.
for that area?
That's the only one.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's only truck access in and out.
Right.
There you go.
Okay, yeah. Very good. Are you good?
I'm good.
Are we good here? You good over there? Okay. Hey, very thorough and clear. Thank you very much.
Thanks.
But, Mr. Chairman, we do have the opportunity for public comment.
Yeah, anybody here in opposition to this? Anyone in favor?
There we go.
Okay.
Mary White, Summer Lane. I just have two questions. Is there any more contamination on the property? And the second question is, if approved, when would the 12-week project start?
Okay, yeah, there is no more contamination except what they're working on, and it'll be completed in 12 weeks.
When does it
Well,
start?
she said when.
When are you going to start?
To answer the first question, there was some contamination under the slab, under the floor slab at Amazon, and that's being taken care of under a completely separate project. It's a vapor.
And I know it's not here, but how? How do you take care of it under?
It's a vapor extraction system.
Okay.
Okay,
All right.
just to
That
keep
makes
vapors out of the building.
Yeah.
Yeah, me.
When is a really good question. So it depends on how bad a year we have. Ideally, so there's two different things. Winter would be a great time to be driving around these wetlands because everything's frozen. If we had a nice hard frost, we could drive on it. It'd be an easy project. The problem with that is then we're excavating frozen soil, which we can do, but it's really heavy and it costs a lot of money to deal with. So the other thing is, if it's not frozen and it's a really wet season, then we're working in really wet conditions, and this area can get really flooded out. We're not going to go out there and make soup out of the soil. So it depends on the weather conditions. We're still waiting for Army Corps approval. We expect that in January sometime. We'll monitor things this early winter and see if we want to bid it or not, or if we want to wait. The option would be to wait until July when everything is dried out, and we can do the project then, but then, we're waiting 6 or 7 months, and it'd be nice just to get the project done with. So to answer the question, it all depends. I'll tell you, ask me again in another month, and then again in a month after that, and we'll know better.
We can't get an answer.
Another question.
Yeah.
Once the soil is in the storage areas, the contaminant, is there a time frame that it can stay there until it's removed, or?
That's an excellent question. There's a time frame within which, if you don't take it off-site, it has to be tested again. And that time frame, I'm not an LEP, so I don't remember, but I want to say it's on the order of, it's months. It's like 6 weeks or 8 weeks. So if it sat and didn't get removed, you'd have to go out and take samples again, because the facilities won't accept data that's more than a certain, or maybe they can't accept data that's over a certain age. The soil can sit there, but that's not what's going to happen here.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good.
Nothing else?
All right.
Anything else?
Thank you.
Okay, we're safe to go?
Safe.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, folks. And we'll close this public. Okay.
P19-35, I'm sorry, 36. Zone change application of Bernard Pellegrino Esquire, applicant RAM 328 LLC, North Haven Investments LLC, 336 State Street LLC, 346 State Street LLC, owners relative to 326, 328, 332, 336, and 346 State Street, map 42, lot 119, and map 34, lots 109, 108, 107, and 105. Plan entitled Proposed Zone Change Map for State Street, North Haven, prepared by Kratzert, Jones and Associates, Inc., dated July 24, 2019, scale 1 inch, equals 100 feet, CB 40/R20 zoning district.
Okay, Bert, you're on.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman and members of the commission. My name is Bernard Pellegrino. I'm an attorney with the Pellegrino Law Firm, and I'm the applicant, and I represent North Haven Investment, which owns 332 State Street, that's this one, in regard to the present zone change application, which involves the 5 properties that were read into the record. Furthest to the south is State Street, the cafe. It's owned by Mr. Manilopoulos.
Master Manilopoulos.
Master Manilopoulos, who is here. Second one is a commercial building being redeveloped presently, owned by Donmar. And then our client's property, which is Nero Heating and Air Conditioning. You remember we were here in the spring getting a site remediation restoration plan approved. And then 2 properties, another commercial building, vacant parcel. All of these properties suffer from what I call a split zone condition, so that the current zoning line, which is this line on the map, and the current property lines, which are the top line, with the exception of our client's property, which I can speak to in a minute, are here. And so the properties are primarily zoned CB and developed as commercial properties. But the back 20 to 30 feet in depth, a little deeper here, about 40 feet, of these properties are zoned residential, which zoning district is established off of Hartford Turnpike. And split zone properties are a pain in the neck because, and they're not preferred from a zoning standpoint. Zoning prefers that zone lines and property lines match one another. And that's the condition we're trying to correct by making this application. The immediate impetus, quite frankly, for the application was trying to put together a plan that makes sense to come back to you for the redevelopment of our client's property with this split zone was just causing all kinds of planning problems. And those issues would be eliminated by moving the zone just slightly to the west. We tried to tie in on our client's piece, which goes much deeper up and actually has a little 20-foot right-of-way all the way, or 20-foot stem that goes all the way to Hartford Turnpike to match from the point of this property line to this property line. So that's why that line is there. On the other parcels, it essentially renders this portion of their property undevelopable. Because, as you know, our regulations do allow, when you have this crazy condition, for you to go into the other district and apply the commercial district by special permit. But if you do, you've got to put a 50-foot planted buffer between whatever you're doing in here to the residential property line. And that doesn't even exist. There's not enough property. So these folks, the balance of their property, with an exception of our clients, because at least we have some area there. I don't think we're going to get in there, but it renders that portion of their property nearly undevelopable, both from a commercial standpoint. So we're asking that you consider fixing that situation. From another practical standpoint, which is important, and for those of you who traveled State Street or, quite frankly, Hartford Turnpike, there's a pretty significant grade change as you go west to east. So this area across all of these properties, and they're long, narrow lots, as you can see. The houses are all up here, and then there's about a 200-foot cliff or drop with vegetation so it's really not developable here, and most of it is fairly vegetated. So there's a natural buffer between the homes and the commercial properties that are on State Street. The other property owners that are involved have sent letters that I think are in your package that they concur. That's kind of the pitch.
Okay. What's Bernie, you said it was causing all kinds of problems. What are the problems it was causing?
Well, it causes problems and would cause problems for anybody because in this stretch, because the zone line as currently drawn for us requires the buffer in and the buffer above for as you go into the residential property. So it basically condensed the development area to a very little narrow area kind of in the middle of the property. I can go back here, but it kind of pinched it in. And the existing building is, as you might recall, kind of along this property line. The plan was either to try to make an addition or create like an L shape, but it was becoming very difficult with the setbacks with this zoning district cutting through the rear of the property.
So there isn't, you couldn't move the building to accommodate the, I presume this is for buffer. That makes sense. You're not going to have enough buffer there, if you put the building there.
Yeah, it eliminates a significant portion of the development area adjacent to where the building currently ends, which is almost right on that line.
So where would the 50-foot buffer be? If we move that line, then where would the 50-foot buffer go between the residential and the commercial?
If you move the line, if we go outside, we could still develop into this area.
So right up to the border of the other people's property.
It would make 50 foot from the outside of the development area if we went into this area. If we stayed within the new classification, we'd have to be 35 feet. So it would be a 15-foot buffer from the new zone line, which we think works for us. And then we wouldn't go into this area at all, so that would all remain as a buffer.
You're talking just about your parcel. I'm worried about all the other parcels.
For anybody else, they could go up to 15 feet, so they probably get, 10 foot of development.
So those other parcels could go within 15 feet of the parcels of the residential on Harper Turnpike. And right now, they couldn't go to within 50, correct?
If we can just clarify a little bit, so there's a 50-foot setback from the residential district boundary line. There's a 15-foot buffer. So we're juggling a couple different things. So you can't build within the 50 feet, but you could pave up to within 15 feet.
You could put a
with
parking lot right up within 50.
Bernie's client is still in two zones.
Right.
Yeah, no, his still goes up top, so.
The other four parcels will actually be would have greater advantage from this.
But they would get to go much closer to those houses than they could go now.
They get to go closer.
Right, okay.
Well, not much closer. They'd get to go 5 feet closer.
Well, okay, I'm not following, because I thought, if it's residential, you're telling me there's a 50-foot buffer. There's not. If it remains as residential right now, how close can you go to that residential zone?
Well, I can't get a building there anyhow.
I don't care, no.
Is it a case of...
So my concern is obviously the people on Hartford Turnpike, not your parcels. The parcels, I get what you want to do, but I'm worried about the people up on Hartford Turnpike. Let me start with this. Did you meet with those people at all? Do they know what's going on? I know it says you gave them notice. Have you heard from them?
I haven't heard from them.
Nothing. So we don't know what their situation is. Okay.
Might be out there, I don't know.
Huh?
They might even be out there, I don't know.
Yeah, okay, fair enough. We'll find out when the time comes. So so help me out here. If it stays the way it is, with that strip remaining residential, forget Bernie's property, guy next door, how far can he go up to the residential property?
With a building or with
No, with a parking lot.
They're going to have to keep the 50-foot buffer. It depends. They can pocket it. They can pocket it back, but probably they've got to stay 50 feet back from the property line.
The property line.
Yeah.
Right. So 50
Yeah.
feet back from those people up on Hartford Turnpike, if it stays the way it is now.
Right.
And if you change it, how close can they move?
You go to within 15.
15. So they lose 35 feet, essentially.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
I just want to understand this, because my concern is, I don't have any problem when you develop your property, I really don't, and I know you're trying to make it work for your building, but I'm worried that we're giving up something for the people on Hartford Turnpike that they currently have, that's been there for a long time. This is not a new zone, right? It hasn't been changed in all the time I've been here. So I'm just not sure why we're going to do it, other than to accommodate your whatever your economic issue is. So that's what concerns me. And I'm concerned, and we'll see if anybody's here, but...
The only, and I get it, I think it's a legitimate issue to look at. We looked at it, I mean, there was a thought, this problem, and I think it's unfair to these people who have this commercial property in part, was to maybe continue it all the way down, but these were pretty similarly situated between the slope and elevation.
I don't know if you continued all the way down, I'd be any happier for the people.
I know you wouldn't. And so we chose to kind of limit it to this area because the topography here is pretty similar.
I get it. And what I will say to you is, I would feel a lot better if you had told me that you met with those 5 people up there and they're okay. I'm not saying you had an obligation to, don't misunderstand what I'm saying, but I'm uncomfortable taking something away from those people up there, even though you're telling me they don't need it because it's a cliff. I'd love to know that.
I don't know if we're taking anything away from them. I think we're giving these people back arguably what their property primarily is zoned for.
Are you saying that your people did not buy it with that?
No, I'm not saying that.
Okay.
Although I will tell you, it's pretty, when we started the process, actually locating the zone line and the property lines wasn't all that easy. It took a little bit of surveying to actually try to figure out that it truly was a split zone that due in part to the scale of our zoning map. So if you were to look at that map before the closing, you might not know what it was.
May not know.
Depends on how good your attorney was, right?
Or how good your eyesight is, because I have had the magnifying glass out multiple times.
Is that, so starting from the left here, so it's the cafe?
Yep.
And then the Donmar building?
Yep.
And then Narrow?
Yep.
And then what's next to that one?
I forgot the name of his company, but it's
Lithocraft. Okay, thank you. All right.
And then vacant piece.
And then what?
I think this parcel
That one.
is undeveloped.
Okay, all right, that's what I was trying to figure out. And then Layutsi's further down, okay.
Right here.
All right.
The next one.
Is Layutsi, all right.
He's all in the commercial. The line then drops down.
Okay.
So the name of the company is Ram 328 LLC. Robert A. Messina, I would say.
Okay, thank you.
Just a question.
Yeah, go ahead.
The word cliff has been referred to here. I've seen that property. Is it zoned that way because of the cliff? I mean, do you really want to build anything that, with the angular retreat of the soil, is that going to come down?
It's not a cliff.
It's
just
not a
steep
cliff.
slope.
It's a
And
deep- it's a
heavily-
steep slope.
Yeah, it's heavily wooded. There's tall trees standing on that entire slope all the way down.
It's undevelopable. We're not going up that
Yeah.
incline, but this area is developable. It's flat enough there to get a building in.
All those statements I agree with, but no, it was not zoned that way because of the topography. That's the same zoning pattern that we have on the upper east side of Washington Avenue. It goes IL across the state road, CB to residential. That's the pattern. On the inside, it goes again to IL to IG, or IL 30 to IL 80.
So there's a
But it's the same pattern, that's correct.
There's a transition from.
It makes sense in, in that sense.
Reasonable sense.
I mean, in looking at the history, they drew a line of 300 feet, and they said that's going to be, and then up here, I think it was 700 feet, and they drew a line just to connect 300 and 700. That's how I,
So there's no direct correlation
No-
to
no
a survey
direct-
number, what have you, no.
Right.
No,
Around
we thought about this
100
before.
feet or so,
Don't know.
because if you look real
But you
close
move
to
that door.
you'll see a line that's right about here, 300 feet, that ties it in, and then there's a line almost, but not quite, at Skiff that says 700 feet, and they just tie the two together.
Okay. Rich, you any questions?
I kind of like that one straight line there instead of making it jig and jogging over there, so.
Jim?
I'm good.
No, I don't have anything.
Okay, for the moment, okay. Is anyone here in opposition, or anyone here in favor of this application? Anyone in favor? Anyone here in opposition? Anyone here has questions? Okay, Mayor.
Mary White, Summer Lane. I am also leery of taking away setbacks. So currently the neighbors have, on Hartford Turnpike, have 50 feet, and that is going to change to 15 feet. We don't have a crystal ball. Right now, we're told, the existing condition is heavily wooded. What happens if perhaps another owner decides, you know what, I want to clear that? You know what I mean? You just can't, when you take something away, you won't be able to get it back. So I'm concerned about that. And I wanted to know, what is the benefit to the town of North Haven to permit these changes to the zone maps, considering they exist elsewhere in town?
Okay, thank you, Mayor. Anyone else have any questions? Bernie?
Other than our client's property that we'd have to come before you to go into the residential zone. The slope with the grade and the vegetation is really all on the residential property owner's side of the line. So for these 4 properties, that would not be impacted. What's in it for the town? I think the elimination of these split zones is a benefit to the town. I think there's, in the plan for conservation and development, they do talk specifically about the zoning districts along State Street and the commercial zoning districts along State Street and along Washington Avenue, about looking at zoning to encourage and assist in commercial redevelopment. These are areas where our grand list can benefit from, and we're seeing it already in this area, and I think we're seeing it on the CB zone on Washington Avenue. We can benefit as a town by making these commercial districts easier and more, I'll say, profitable to develop, because that helps our tax base. And we I don't think are hurting anyone here, but we're potentially helping these properties redevelop in a way that they can be more contributing business property owners to our town.
Okay. Very good. Well said.
I'm good.
Everybody staff? Good to go? Okay. We will close this public hearing. Okay, Bernie, thank you very much. Teresa?
P19-37, zone change application of Jarrett Rousseau, applicant and owner relative to 8 and 10 Grasso Avenue, map 36, lot 36, map 36, lot 35. Plan entitled Existing Conditions Properties located at number 8 and number 10 Grasso Avenue, North Haven, Connecticut, prepared by Criscolo Engineering LLC, dated 4/16/2019, scale 1 inch equals 20 feet, R20 zoning district.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. For the record, my name is John Paul Garcia. I'm a licensed professional engineer, land surveyor, licensed to practice in the state of Connecticut, principal office at 190 Fairwood Road, Bethany, and I'm here representing Mr. Rousseau, who's with me right here, in the matter of a zone change for 2 properties that he owns at 8 and 10 Washington, Grasso Avenue. I'm sorry, for 2 properties he owns, 8 and 10 Grasso Avenue, which comprise approximately 0.92 acres total. Just to give you a little idea of what the properties look like, this is a colored map of the area. Mr. Rousseau's property is in pink in the center, and it shows the zones as they presently exist.
John Paul, we don't have this one yet?
No, that just...
So this would be Exhibit A?
You have that's the assessor's map, and this one's colored in to show the individual zones. As you can see, with the exception of the 3 properties, the 2 that Mr. Rousseau owns and the one next door, the properties on the north side is zoned IG80, or, excuse me.
IG.
IL.
IL.
Well, there's IL 80 and
IG30, the area to the northeast or northwest is R20, and then the areas around it are all either IL 80 or IG 80. And so the intent is for Mr. Rousseau to continue the the IL zone and allow him to develop his parcel. The 2 properties, one is vacant and one has a small A-frame on it, which he would demolish and construct a commercial structure on it.
So you want to go down with the IL 80 zone?
It makes the most sense.
It's the more aggressive zone of the 2.
I know that, but it's well, actually, the IL 80, I think, is a little bit more, less restrictive, isn't it? Because that actually allows residences and some other things, if you read your regs.
What's the proposed use?
Commercial building. He's a plumber.
So the one right next door to this, to the IG, what is this in turn?
That one there is residential.
That's residential?
Yes. He had talked to the owner of that parcel about converting all 3, and they were not interested.
And how did they feel about the conversion of these lots?
Go ahead, Jim.
I'm sorry. And how did that owner feel about the conversion of these 2 lots?
For the record, this is Jarrett Rousseau.
Jarrett Rousseau, R-O-U-S-S-E-A-U. I did actually not speak with the owner. I believe Alan did.
If I can offer up something, at 4:58 p.m. today, I received an email from the tenant, Tim Garrison, and it says, "Hello, Mr. Frederickson. I'm writing on behalf of Barry and Regina Jacobson, owners of 14 Grasso Avenue. They are unable to attend tonight's zoning meeting in town due to the weather and are currently not able to send an email. They have asked me to send this email on their behalf. I am the tenant at their property, 14 Grasso Avenue, and they are my landlords, owners of the property. They wanted to make sure their opinion was noted in tonight's discussion of the proposed zoning change for the properties 8 and 10 Grasso Avenue. Barry and Regina Jacobson are against a zoning change from residential to commercial for these properties 8 and 10 Grassett Avenue. Thank you in advance for your time, Tim Garrison, 14. So
That's pretty cool.
That's all I had to say. The gentleman did come in.
Who's the gentleman?
I guess it's Barry Jacobson.
Oh, the owner.
Okay. The owner came in, I spoke with him one day, and I explained the application. He asked questions, and he acknowledged that there were certain advantages to him.
Right.
He said, I don't know, property may be worth more. I was uncertain what he would do at that point.
What, is that still?
Whether he would come out in favor or against.
Well, it seems we know now. If the tenant's email's to be believed, right?
That's all I have. I don't have anything from him.
I get it.
And I you know.
Why didn't you talk with with those neighbors right there?
We decided not to reach out. It thought we could just do our 2 pieces of property.
You know, again, they notified.
Yeah,
No, I get it.
Yeah, sure, you notified, but I mean, it wouldn't have been more sensible to go talk to them and tell them that, if we're going to change the zone, I'd like to change it all at once. I remember changing the zone back from IL80 or IG, whatever it might have been, years ago. We changed it to allow this house to be built there for a handicapped person, as I recall.
That house is
Yeah,
nowhere
well, I know
near
you know about that, but I mean, that's the reason we did that, because it was the parents that lived right behind them. And so, I mean, I don't know what's changed there, or if, I really don't know.
We have a vacant lot and a very small A-frame house that are not very usable, so we're just trying to make
But
improvements.
this is a ranch house there, isn't it?
The house you're speaking of is 14, which is a ranch house.
Yeah, okay. So you're gonna, the A-frame you own.
Correct.
And the vacant lot. Yeah. Okay. Well,
Yep.
anybody want to go ahead and talk? Whoever wants to go.
Well, I mean, we're in the same place that I was in the other one. It concerns me.
Certainly does.
You're going to leave that one house, one residential house on the street and convert it around them.
As Vern said, they converted it over. They swapped it back.
We did.
Well, but it's, I know, but these other 2 lots have been R20 for
Forever.
a long time now,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, I mean,
So-
all the time.
So
But
you're asking to change it, I get it, and I understand there's a logic to it. If, quite frankly, I probably would have no problem if we were doing it all the way up the street. But, I still am a little concerned with the people behind you, but, all right, they're already butting up against other commercials.
That's all AG against that rear property line. That's all
Yeah,
he did.
Well, no, I mean, because your 2 properties are against that property.
Yeah.
These people are against yours, those are ours. These 3 are all against ours, right?
Yes, that's correct. Everything else is against.
The other ones are right. I get
Did
it.
you not talk to them at all?
Not talk to who?
I'm sorry?
Not talk to who?
The homeowner.
The homeowner came in that one day, and I did speak with him, and those are the things he said. I explained the proposal to him, and he kind of weighed it back and forth, and he said there were definitely advantages to him to doing it, but he wasn't sure. He ended up leaving and saying before he left, well, we will take that into consideration.
How long ago was that?
Rich asked that.
What are the
I don't know, maybe within the last 10 days or so, because he received the notification letter. I assume that's why he was there, because he was notified. So I don't know if the tenant wrote the letter to
But I mean,
I know, yeah.
let's,
representing him.
this afternoon at 4:30, saying the weather's, and it's snowing, so,
I mean, I'd like to change them all. It isn't like I don't want to do this, but I'd like to do them all.
I spoke with Mr. Russo, and with John Paul, prior to his making the application, and I had urged him to, try and get the other lot owner and flip the whole thing. It's just not always possible. There is some emotional attachment to the house that's there, the property that's there that he explained to me. I guess there was a father who built 2 houses for his kids. One of them was on Giles, one of them was on Grasso. I think it was originally one parcel. So he has, and they lived in the house for a time. They now live in Middletown. But he was, a little bit emotional about a potential change.
There was a handicap there, for the family that moved in there. Well, we changed that, and they built that house for him, as I recall. Some time ago.
Not sure, he didn't.
But is this the same family that owned that all these years?
I think it is. I think the gentleman's wife was one of the 2 daughters. One ended up on Giles, one on Grasso.
If I would make a suggestion, there's a little confusion here, but can we table this for 30 days? It would give Jared a chance.
You got plenty of time.
To reach out, talk to the owner, and get a definitive answer.
Good idea.
Well, you say that, no, I think that's good, but, I'd also like to, I'm looking at the list, and I know a lot of these are rentals, and some of them are, there's a few people who live right behind you, if you can reach out to them as well.
I don't want to make more of them have to do more than they have to. I mean, to be honest with you, one, they all got notice.
They all did get notice here.
And this person next door actually sent us something saying they have an issue, whether it be by tenant. So I hear what you're saying. I'm not as, because I think it makes sense, if we're going to do it the whole strip.
I agree with you.
And now everybody's back up to it.
There was a misunderstanding. Somebody had said that they had talked to that guy, and I apologize.
Well, Alan talked to him. He did.
Well, but anyways, let's get it done formally.
Fair enough.
Let's get it done formally.
I think we'll all feel
30 days is not kill anything here.
And I've just got to offer something up. I've got to apologize, too. This email came into my work email at 4:58 p.m., and I did not open it. I left the office about 4:45, and I didn't open it until I was sitting here at this table, and I saw it was there, and I opened it and read it.
That's fine.
Well, shame on you.
Well, exactly, yeah,
So
for sure.
we're gonna explain to the guy that even if we change the zone, he could still stay there, his house could stay there. Okay. Maybe he doesn't understand it, that's
And
right.
actually, it hurts Mr. Russo.
Good.
It's to Mr. Russo's
I
benefit
get
to
it.
make it a clean line
I get it, I
as
get
well.
it.
Yeah,
Right.
we
Absent
understand that him being commercial or IL 80 or whatever the zone is, it benefits us. We get a bigger
It would be good. It'd be good for the whole area.
Yeah.
The whole area actually. The R20 on the other side is going to be looked at. I guess for.
To be honest with you,
for some
absent
zone
that,
change.
isn't this just spot zoning? Aren't we zoning this spot?
No.
It's connected right on.
You have adjacent land.
Yeah, we're okay.
Either way, that is a large area that has either one zone or the other. It's attached to a large R20, it's attached to an IL
You're
80.
saying it becomes a,
Yeah,
okay.
so either way, you're good.
We'd like to hear from him.
Thank you.
Okay, very good. Thank you, gentlemen.
And if you want to,
Okay, we will leave this
I
open.
think I should want to do it, actually.
Okay, we're going to site plans.
Yeah.
Okay. 400 Sacker Point Road.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the commission, Bernard Pellegrino for the record. I have the site plan and the CAM.
Yep. Yeah, take them both.
Probably talk about them. So, we had a site visit since we last met, and I'm not sure that's done more harm than good, but as a result of which, I believe there was an issuance of a cease and desist relative to some trucks, which are parked in the area that we're proposing some truck outdoor storage, which would be screened, but hasn't been approved yet.
So they went ahead and did it without that.
They've done it, not us.
I
but,
get it.
So, and I did speak to a representative from the ownership group.
Who's not here, I assume.
I don't think they're here. We'll ask if they approve it tonight, would that area be legal for the trucks? If they, yes, with the improvements proposed to screen the area, maybe. Mr. Sarasi's area, when we met, progress had been made, more progress has been made. Has everything happened that, has it been completed? No, but we're close. But this whole other issue kind of complicates things further, I would think.
You mean the truck issue? Okay.
If I can offer, you have a copy of the cease and desist, and today I received one of them yesterday in an email. I guess you guys aren't sitting, again, we're on the same crew, I think, that we were on before for the subdivision of the amendment. But anyway, everyone can have a copy of the letter, but that came out of Network Realty in response to the C&D. You got it?
Just the same one you saw?
Yeah. I guess we should mark that also, since that's being put in. We mark it Exhibit 1. We've had a few conversations with the ownership. The ownership inquired as to whether they needed a Planning and Zoning Commission approval to put outdoor storage of motor vehicles there. I indicated that they did. They indicated at one point that they felt they had that approval that was either grandfathered or had pre-existed back from when the prior company was there circuit-wise. I disagreed with that to them, and I think I, at one point, even indicated that in writing to them through an email. My position on behalf of the commission, and I believe you folks have been of one mind on this, is that if you're going to park cars somewhere, that's parking. If you're going to keep cars or trucks overnight, that's storage. In particular, if a tenant has no foothold, toehold inside the building, that's an exterior tenant. Again, that's something that is very possible and spelled out in the regulations that this commission can approve that. The site plan that Mr. Sarasi has proposed indicates an area in the front with some screening that would legitimize, if you will, that outdoor storage, but as yet remains unapproved. It's not necessarily a bad place for outdoor storage, but again, not approved yet.
That would be just for Nicklin? That's not addressing outdoor storage?
No, it would include, and what's shown on the site plan is an area that could be used for UPS trucks right where they are now.
And Sunrunner, the Sunrunner place?
That's correct, yes.
Okay.
But not Nicklin. His is on the left side in the front where they're screening, and in the back, which is not quite complete.
But the screening would be for the businesses we just talked about.
Well, it would, except really Mr. Sarasi's area is already screened. There's a row of evergreens that go in the front. What they were showing on their plan was to extend that row to screen the eastern portion of the site.
So when did this site visit take place and who was there?
The last meeting was November 12th, correct? So whatever the Thursday was, 11, 10, 9, maybe around the 8th or the 7th, Laura Magarossi and myself.
Right.
Per directive, we diligently went more or less throughout the site, and we
Yeah.
said,
Yeah.
that's a problem, that's a problem, that's a problem, it needs to be removed.
And have any of those problems been resolved?
Some.
Mostly ours.
Yeah, yours.
Well, I found, yeah,
I mean, there's a piece of equipment in the back there with the weeds growing through it, and there's all
Whose
kinds of
equipment did we decide, oh, it's gone?
That stuff's gone.
That one's
No,
gone.
I think he's referring to
I think
the
that one tow motor has
International
been
Harvester.
removed.
Yeah, that's.
the one in the back. That's not.
Who does it belong to? Does anyone know?
Yeah, but we keep going, keep getting to the same place. I mean, I appreciate you keep coming back, but if we approve this, we're never gonna get things done. So, and I'm not looking to hurt your client, but, you know, this letter says they're not doing anything. When town attorney can deal with that, that's for our enforcement people, that's fine.
You know, we were.
But that's less than cooperative.
I don't want to speak for the owner.
Okay, well, I can
but-
speak for the commission, that
Yeah.
is less than cooperative with us,
I mean,
to me.
Yeah, I think, you know, the site plan application is before you. You probably got to vote. It's been going on and on.
Right.
What I would like to convey to you prior to you voting, and I know the condition of our, I think it was a change of use to allow Mr. Sarasi to continue to occupy and use the space that he's in, was get a site plan application approved and tell us who the other tenants are, which have changed, and get a new plan. We've done so at considerable expense. Depending on how you act on the application, obviously, if you approve it, he's done his part. But if you don't, we've discussed, and maybe would like to come back to you to discuss, revising the condition on his change of use to permit a site plan for his outdoor storage and his use that would pertain only to him, and maybe
That might be the only way to solve this for your client,
Yeah, I think it
because
might be.
I don't see how we can, for my 2 cents, I don't see how we can approve this entire site plan with obvious violations that are continuing that aren't being rectified. So I don't see how I could vote for this. But everybody's, just 5 of us or 4 of us for this, right?
How does that look to you?
4, yeah, sure.
Can we do that without making him come back by any stretch? We probably can't.
No.
Just to prevent him from coming back again, I mean.
The physical
if we-
drawing, I think, is a long distance away from
Yeah,
It's too much.
being usable.
okay.
We can, I'm not sure you could do it, even
Okay.
if I was being as persuasive as I could be, because I think it's a prior approval and probably
Right.
requires at least a
Right.
request to amend, and
Because
probably
I would
not.
be amenable to that. I don't want to hold you up anymore. You've done a lot. I get it. But I just don't know how we can improve the whole site plan. So, and I don't really know how we do it, the way we're talking about doing it, but I would do it anyway.
But how big is the actual outdoor storage do you use?
There's two, well, let me do it. There's 2 areas. One is in the front.
In the front
Left,
or the
as you're
immediate
looking
back?
at the property, and then there's the area in the back, which is also the area we're proposed to do some CAM, coastal area management remediation, which we still do. So you get that, and we're happy to do that, because we've already committed to it, so.
And then the cease and desist would remain on that, on the rest of the property? We'd be able to amend that as well?
I think it remains on the whole thing, though, actually. The cease and desist is on the whole piece, isn't it?
The cease and desist is, I think, for particular parking that's happening where it's not permitted yet.
Well, it has been kind of a moving target. I mean, the situation there has changed since day one. I don't think we had the outdoor storage initially when the change of use was approved, and the site plan the outdoor storage sort of necessitated the site plan. There have been, the only progress that I've seen Sunrunner has reorganized their items. They may have actually gotten rid of a few.
I think they might have. I noticed that too, a little bit.
But, Bruno has made strides, but, is not there yet. And then you go from bad to worse on the other issues with the UPS trucks, et cetera. What the commission's been saying all along, to my level of understanding, is if we approve this, we're kind of
Done.
But, yeah, we're approving the status quo that's there that is unclean, and that's, clearly got junk, things that are never going to be put back to use or what have you, and, it's a lot of the stuff has got to head to recycling, I think, and it's not, it's not necessarily Bruno's stuff. I mean, maybe some things, but not, certainly the largest volume is other people's. And if you approve that, I guess you're granting permission for that stuff to sit there.
Well, that's fine.
More or less,
You gotta
definitely.
split this somehow, Bert.
And that's a problem to me.
So it seems to me that what we do is vote on it, and everybody can say whatever they want to do, and if it's not approved, tell them to come back with a site plan that just applies to him. You get it straightened out, talk to Jennifer, make sure that we're okay with doing it. I would do it. Your guy's done everything we could ask him to do. I don't have any problem with him, or it seems like it. And then come back with something that he can deal with, and then we can deal with the rest of the property. I don't know what else to do.
No, but they got to split, just put it away now. We'll split it, we'll deny this thing, and per se, what I would think, we'll deny it, Bernie, and come back with another plan to keep him in there,
It's the only
and then we
way.
can
I don't know
separate
what else
it
you can
and do something like that. But I don't see any other way you
You
can do
vote,
it.
and we'll react accordingly.
And tell the Mellors, thank
Okay.
you so much for this letter.
Okay. Okay, then we've got the cam in there too. Now, where are we? Okay, we're here for other, I guess now. On 160,
One last applicant.
Are we there?
We're there.
We're there.
Do we have?
We don't
Okay, 160, 164, State Street.
Mark never goes.
Mr. Orsini.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. 2 years ago, we were in here to converse. My name's John Orsini. 2 years ago, we were here came in and had some one-bedroom apartments, and I turned them into two-bedroom. Tonight, I'm asking for the same thing. I have 9 one-bedroom apartments and want to turn them into two-bedroom apartments. And if you look at the original site plan, it cuts down parking even by doing that. So we're here asking the commission to approve this.
What, you just not renting, John, or?
Well, one bedroom's not really.
No.
I'm 80-something% rented, but the one bedrooms, if you have one bedroom and you have somebody stay over, a grandson or somebody like that, where do they stay? You have one bedroom, they sleep in the living room. So I decided to turn them into 2 bedrooms, which I can rent out right away.
Okay.
Plus, on the approved parking, it cuts down the amount of parking spaces that were needed.
Yeah.
Do you have people that need caregivers in there as well with the second apartment? I mean, anybody have nurses or anybody like that?
If they do, they come in during the day.
Oh, okay, nobody's staying, I'm just asking.
Yeah, no.
That's why another bedroom might be needed.
Yeah.
That's, okay.
Yeah. To turn those into a two-bedroom thing, you're gonna make it from 9 down to 6.
Right.
Yeah, so, man, it certainly sounds sensible if you're not getting these rented. It's no good for you, no good for anybody.
Here's my, I got no reservation about doing this. There's supposed to be 5 affordable units in there. And with the, I don't know what the approval on this one said, but we've never gotten a report that you've done the 5, you know, so I'd like to get some sort of agreement that there's going to be a report, like telling us that.
Well, I'll tell you this here, they're at market rate, the 5.
Market is not affordable, John.
Well, they're affordable. I know this came up, you brought it up at the last time, but I'm just telling you, that's what they are. And before that, if you remember, the town did not have an affordable plan in here. The town didn't.
No, it was part of the approval.
You offered to put it right in.
Right.
You offered to put it in. Right.
Market rate is not affordable. That's kind of my concern. And maybe we got to look at the approval. Didn't the approval call for 5 affordable units?
I believe it did. I believe so.
Yeah, I can check on that. That's not a big deal.
Okay, so you're going to come back to us and tell us
No, I'm
what
not
you
going to
did?
come back. I want to, know, tonight.
You want to what?
I want to get it approved tonight by the commission warrants.
Okay, well, that's my concern. It's not about changing these units. My concern is a report that, I mean, when we said to do them as affordable, it's to help our standing with the town for having affordable units in town. And so 5 of them at your place are supposed to be affordable. If they're market rate, they're the exact same thing as all the other ones. They're all market rate, right?
But isn't somebody from staff supposed to be?
I think there is.
Supposed to be doing this?
Yeah, we do have affordable.
Excuse me one second. My name's John Apuzzo. I'm John Orsini's agent for the building. We do have affordable tenants in that building now. So if you like, we get you a list of those tenants.
And explaining what, actually, you shouldn't even give us their names, to be honest with you. We did it with other people. You shouldn't give us, but tell us what affordable means. That's what we're supposed to do.
Yeah, because there are reduced rents for those people.
So how is that? That's what I'm looking for.
Yeah, it was structured right at the very beginning when we first did that.
And we want to make sure it's counting, though.
It's still happening.
For staff, we want to make sure those are counting toward our affordable equation.
Correct.
Can you provide just that documentation to staff?
We could get that for you, and I could drop it off at your office. I'd have it tomorrow.
And then will
That's fine.
staff
That's
make
my only
sure
reservation.
that gets to Hartford or whoever needs this stuff? So we know our numbers?
You have to look at
Right,
people
I'm not
like
quite
that.
sure how that takes place.
Because our approval may be a problem in this case. It may not have required them to do it.
It was a problem, yeah.
But it was still supposed to be, well, we can talk about that. So if you'll give them a report and he can give it to us, I'm not telling you I want to hold this up. That's not the point. I want to make sure that affordable is being done.
No, and they were very good about agreeing to it. I remember that. So that's, it should count. Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
Look, thanks so much, okay. No extension, no bond.
I do care.
Correspondence.
I care more about accounting.
Everything else we do in executive session. Everything else we do in deliberation.
I think you're right.
Open space.
Okay.
Do you want to just do that under deliberations?
All right, whatever.
Don't you want to do it? Or you want to do it now?
I don't care.
I don't care.
You're going to just need a motion and a second anyway.
Yeah.
To do what?
For the appointment of an open space committee representative from P&Z.
Okay.
What was that?
On
space.
other,
I wasn't going there, no.
okay.
Right, okay.
That's fine, you don't have to.
Yeah, I was gonna go there. Okay. 10-minute break. I gotta take a
There
break.
you go. No problem. Thank God, it's fine.
I think Vern needs a break.
My leg is shot too. One knee, no knee.
How are you doing this?
Right.
Okay, we're on.
Yeah? Okay.
Hold on. Mary Lee's not ready. Okay.
Okay, folks, we are back from the break. I'd like to get a motion to go into deliberation.
Motion to go into deliberation.
Second. Have a second? Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Okay, first thing on the table here is the zoning amendment for Montaukese. The application, P19-24. Can I get a motion to approve? Can I get a motion to approve this application? Okay. Can I get a motion to deny this application?
I'll make that motion.
Can I get a second?
I'll second that.
Okay, I have a motion, I have a second to deny. All in favor?
Let's just have a little bit of discussion.
Okay.
Just so that we're clear about what our reasons for denial.
Go ahead.
You know, there are some pluses to this application. However, it calls for us to make a zone change that I don't think we're required to make right now. They didn't convince me there's a reason to go and change our regulations to change this zone. I don't think we need to change the zone. I'm cognizant of what they were proposing. I think in the right places, as we have done, mixed use is a good thing. This site in particular, and I know this wasn't just for this site, but the difficulty is this site is what it's aimed at, and this site's difficult. I don't think there's a basis for changing our regulations.
I think you're exactly right. Very difficult. That's why it was just so many years, is the way I see it. Okay.
And just to be clear, we've had an issue a couple times lately about our town council being critical of not articulating a specific reason. So just to be clear, I guess, that's relatively clear. We don't need to do it. We're not required to do it.
And the impact on this area with this particular zone change, not just that particular site, but the adjacent areas, the way this is written.
And just to summarize your reasons again, Jim?
Yeah, I kind of what you're saying, but in essence, they're asking us to change the zone. I don't feel, and I think the commission does not feel, there's a necessity of changing this zone. The way it's currently zoned is sufficient for us right now. And I don't think there's a basis, based on all the evidence that was put in front of us, for us to change it at this time.
Good. Okay, we had that motion. I have a second.
Second.
You second that? Okay.
No, I made it.
Okay. You made it? Good. Jim seconded it? Yep. All right, that's very good. Okay, you heard the motion, you heard the discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, and that does not carry. Okay, on to the luxury housing on P19-25. And a motion to approve, but there was a little bit of discussion about sidewalks that I heard and the location of the sewer.
I'll make a motion to approve for discussion.
Okay, good enough. Go ahead.
I need a second.
Can I get a second?
I'll second it.
Okay.
All in favor? Very good.
For discussion.
For discussion.
For discussion,
Right,
yeah.
okay. So, yeah, I believe that they said the sidewalks were included, just not on that particular plan. So it has sidewalks.
Yes.
The sewers, I'm going to make I don't know if I can make a condition, but I'm going to make a strong suggestion. I'm not sure if it can be conditioned.
You can't condition.
That the sewers are located on Warner Road.
I don't know that we can.
I think we can.
Everyone thinks we
Honestly, I don't
can.
know.
I'm sorry.
I don't know that we cannot do that and say that what we're approving is for the
sewers
to be on Warner Road. And I think what we could say is that we want the sewers to be on Warner Road, so we address all the adjoining homeowners and things we're normally concerned with. However, and maybe we amend it, if WPCA says that's not the appropriate place, then we'd be guided by what WPCA. But absent that,
Right.
I think we want them on Warner Road. That's how I feel too. I would like to see the sewers up on Warner Road.
Yeah, I mean, the way I feel about it is that's the town right away.
Right.
That's where the sewer should
Right.
be. These houses are all fronting on the town
And
right
that
away.
goes
Why are we
for-
not putting the sewer in the town
That's where they
right away?
gotta
That
go.
just goes toward good planning and not, just...
If they were presenting to us the entire subdivision, you
Right.
might look at it a little bit differently.
Right.
But this is what's been presented to us, all those houses fronted.
And we had a situation up on Kings Highway
Indeed we
regarding
did.
these utilities. And my statement to a certain extent, we might not have had anything on the record that said specifically, we are doing this because of this. But nonetheless, a lot of people may have not objected because there was public benefit.
Right.
But I would say at this point that there, unquestionably, there's public benefit to having it on Warren Road.
Right.
And,
No doubt.
And if that's one of the reasons to approve the subdivision, what do we get out of houses in our 40 zones? Well, this would be one thing you get. You get sidewalks.
Look, I think it's a good plan. We get sidewalks, and I want them to...
And with the
Right.
sewers in...
I would have liked to
good enough.
see that driveway moved over a little bit. I understand why they can't, but hopefully the way the house is across the street and the headlights won't go directly in. I can't make you guys do that, but...
I understand why they couldn't too. Just for the record, also, one of the comments from Alan, it says we need to determine if one or more of the objectives delineated in 2.5.1.3 are met. They were, in my opinion. We have to say that there's a reason to do a cluster subdivision, and I think there was a reason to do a cluster subdivision. It made the most sense with the topography and where the wetlands were in the area. The cluster subdivision makes sense. So I think the motion should be to approve it with the sewer on Warner Road, unless WPCA says there's a reason not to. That's
Okay, so I amend my approval to what Jim says.
1 second. Now, you think I should do the special permit first, before we approve this?
We list the subdivision first.
The subdivision first?
I don't think it's going to matter.
Okay.
In terms of sequence. But, and again...
I'm all set to do that.
The sidewalks are required, put the sewers in Warner Road, and also the residential sprinkler systems are part of it, per the comments and the fire chief's comments.
Okay.
And all the land use.
And all other...
Yeah, and everything else, of course.
All other particular comments.
We have a motion, we have a second, we have discussion, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, opposed? Very good. Okay, now, P19-25F, the special permit for that same piece for the luxury homes on Warner Road. Can I get a motion to approve the special permit? Anybody?
Yeah, I'll make a motion to approve the special permit with all of the comments we made about the...
Yeah, the same thing, tagged right on it. Yep, okay. I have a motion, can I get a second?
I'll second it.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Good. Okay, now we go on to Pratt & Whitney property there, a motion to approve the P19-35. This is an excavation permit.
I'll make that motion to approve. I thought that was a good presentation. It was very informative.
Very good. I have a motion. Can I get a second?
I'll second it.
I have one comment.
Go ahead.
One of the things that was put in either Alan's comments or Andy's comments was, do we want reports back as the progress of the excavation?
Yeah.
As a commission? And I think we do.
If you're gonna
I'd
get
like
it
to see them.
Yeah, reports are already going to the Wetlands Commission and to the WARA, so you guys...
So I would like to see them as well. So if you could put them in our package at the end of the month or whatever.
Absolutely.
Other than that, I agree. I thought it was a good presentation as well.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Good. Okay, now we got to P19-36, zone change of the applicant, Ms. Bernard Pellegrino. This is up on 336 State Street, where he wants to change the zone line from a straight line to a line to accommodate the building on the property, I presume, down on State Street. What do you think about that?
Are we talking about it before we make?
Yeah, let's go.
Okay. My concern is the people on Hartford Turnpike. I don't really have a problem with the idea of it, and I know they're not here, but I still am concerned of, one of the important things for us is to remember we all have to live here. So I get we want to develop properties, I get we want to let our commercial properties thrive. I'm all in favor of that. I get worried when we start encroaching into residential areas. So I'm not sold on the reason we have to do this.
Good. You got anything to say?
No, I'm not sold on it either.
Okay, well, You guys want to say anything?
My notes were the same as what Jim
Well, I'm
said.
going to
People
put a
on the-
motion to
people on the
approve.
Turnpike.
He's talking about.
I was talking.
Go ahead.
Mine were the same as Jim, the people on Hartford Turnpike, they weren't included. And
Right,
also,
and-
and the one thing, that's a little bit of a buffer there on that
Exactly.
property. And I remember not just a long time ago when State Street was trying to get into where Henry's is, and we had the landscaping company do all sorts of strange things back there. And that was probably against the zoning that was going on if it was looked at that that parcel was residential.
Right, and we're
That's it.
not looking at something that's new, okay? We're looking at something that's existing and it's been there, and the owners of those properties knew it was there when they bought it on both ends, so, okay.
Again, let me try this again. Give me a motion to approve this zone change. Okay, hearing no motion, can I get a motion to deny this?
I will make a motion to deny.
Can I have a second?
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, it is denied.
So let's give reasons again.
Thank you.
For denying this
Yeah, it is for the
Is because.
lack of information from the people on Hartford Turnpike.
No,
That's-
not
but-
only that.
But it's a concern of the impact on the residential zone, and they haven't shown us that there's a reason that we need to change our zone lines. The way they are at present is sufficient for our needs. I get that they have some issues that they would like to address, but I don't think it merits us changing the zone lines for this area of town.
Good enough?
Yeah.
Got it, Pam?
I think so. Anybody want to add anything?
This has been continued.
Okay, we're good. We did take a vote
We're,
on it.
yeah,
didn't we?
the board is concerned about the impact on the adjoining residential neighborhood.
Okay, good enough. Now, a motion, unless you want to discuss any more on this, a motion to approve 400 Sackapon Road, the site plan.
I'll just make a motion to deny
Yeah.
Okay,
the site
Okay.
plan application.
And I'll second that motion.
okay.
To
All in
deny.
favor to deny?
We're taking it with the CAM, right?
I'll do this CAM
Well,
separate.
one at a time, though,
Okay, got
right?
it, all right.
So Jim made the motion,
Yep,
and Teresa seconded?
yes. All in favor?
Aye.
Right,
And
okay.
if we can articulate some type of reason there, again,
Gosh,
Well, I think the reason is the site plan does not address the issues that are currently at the site that we have repeatedly indicated needed to be addressed. There are violations, there continue to be violations. We've been given a site plan that does not address the actual condition of the property. This applicant is a tenant at the property, and we have not been able to get the full cooperation of the owner to get the whole area addressed. So the site plan as it's presented is not sufficient, in my opinion.
right, so we're looking for them to split the site plan.
So, well, we talked about it,
Yeah.
that's a different issue. If we,
Of course.
what the applicant said to us, or it sounded to me like said to us, is like, listen, vote on it. If you deny it, I'm going to come back. For this applicant, who's tried to do everything
Yeah.
that he could, or seems to try to do everything he can,
Yeah,
and maybe
and
he
get it
could
down to
accommodate,
there,
let
maybe
him
he can
talk,
stay there.
let
Good
him
enough.
talk to the town attorney and figure out how
Okay,
to come to us.
did I take a vote on that, Pam?
no.
Okay. Oh, we got a motion and a second?
Yeah, we do.
Oh, for that one, yeah. We
We do?
denied it.
Okay, all in favor?
We're good. We're dying.
We did it, we denied it.
So now we need to do CAM.
Okay.
I'll make a motion to deny the CAM as well.
Okay, good enough.
But I'll second that one.
Okay,
All the same reasons. You got to take a vote, Vern.
okay, all in favor?
Aye.
I'll turn this thing around next month, folks. Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
All right, if
Okay.
you can do one more thing, if you can just vote out the continuing of P 1937, zone change for Grasso.
So vote to continue it to next month?
Yeah.
I can make a motion to continue it to next month, P19-37. Continue.
Yeah, okay,
I'll second that.
okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, oh, good, I think we are.
We have correspondence.
Good enough. Okay, now, Jim, drop this one right on you again. You can have this. John Orsini wants to take 9 apartments and make them into 1 bedrooms there and bring them down to 6. It is
Thank you.
other, it's 160, 164 State Street. And there was a question about the affordable component that he has in the building.
And the applicant agreed to give us some type of report. We shall
Right.
see. But
So,
And I have some clarification on that, just very quickly, that reporting of affordable gets recorded in the our town clerk's office, and then that goes to the Department of Housing. A deed restriction has to be done at our town clerk's office. So it'd be very interesting to see if that's happened.
I don't think so.
Okay?
but that, I think that's what has to be done, deed restriction.
Well, it does have to be done. The question is whether it was done or not.
Yeah, I
Now,
understand what you're saying, exactly.
And I think that was the issue Jim referenced, a problem with the approval at the time. And I think the approval at the time did not articulate, I think it was language that did not benefit the commission per se in that quest. And I think that was part of the problem. I think we had put Jennifer on this before.
It may make sense to talk to Jennifer about it again. We got better at it. The next couple we did after that.
No
had
question about it.
actual
Yeah.
affordability plans.
Yeah, well-
Yep.
This one did not, as I recall.
No, it was a general thing that said, will you give us 5 affordable units or whatever the number was? And they said, yeah.
Clearly, our intention was for them to be affordable in accordance with the statute, but it doesn't exactly say that, as I recall. But we should probably talk to Jennifer. Whatever they give us would be helpful. What Teresa is saying, I understand it, the only way we get credit for it is if there's a deed restriction. I would be very surprised to find out that there is, but we'll see what they tell us.
I think
So whatever we get from them, we'll forward it to town council.
Right, exactly right. Let Jennifer take a look at this. I did talk to her.
With the idea that she would attempt to get us credit for those particular
Right.
units, however,
Or tell
whatever
us why-
process that would be.
Or tell us why she can't.
Is that a report of bonding on these applications? And
No.
I don't think so.
Would there be any outstanding bond on
Oh,
this?
there actually is on this property.
Oh, you mean
No,
on this
there may
property.
be, but there becomes an okay, I misunderstood, but there becomes a problem because, like, the Washington Avenue, Ralph's property on the left, and actually Middletown Avenue, both have affordability plans that they're supposed to give us reports, which I've never seen one yet. This one, we didn't do that.
We're supposed to.
So we can't, as I remember, we can't directly say to the developer that you didn't do what you're supposed to do because we didn't outline very well what you're supposed to do. We learned better.
We received something on Lexington Gardens
Yeah.
and we forwarded that over, and I'm not sure.
We are getting
Where
credit
that
for the
ended up.
Lexington Gardens.
No, we're definitely getting
Yeah.
credit. I don't know if I've ever seen that report. When you say forwarded over, it came to us?
Yeah.
Did
A
not.
copy of it went
I
from,
gotta tell you, I don't remember.
I think
But
you
you
were
did-
satisfied,
We did,
Jennifer
we
had
got
some
one.
issues.
We did get it.
Yeah, actually,
yeah.
you're
Okay.
right. It listed how
Yeah.
many for what price, right?
Yeah, we got it.
There was a lot of info there.
Okay, all
and-
right, well, whatever. We got better at it, that's all I'll say.
Yeah, no
How are we
doubt
now?
about that.
We're getting better now? Okay.
Of course, we still need a motion and a second on a,
We didn't vote on
On the-
Orsini's thing yet.
Oh,
I don't even think we have a motion.
We don't.
do we have a motion to approve Mr. Orsini's, did I give you
We
the?
are still holding his original bond.
You are
Came in about 6 months ago with bond release.
Did he ask you for it?
Yeah, he did.
He did.
About 6 months ago.
And
I went to the, because he only sent the release request in, he didn't send anything else.
Yeah,
So
no, I gave
went to
this.
my
I gave
file, I
this.
pulled out the as-built, and the as-built had a whole bunch of issues with it.
There you go.
So I sent them a letter back saying, you got all these issues with the as-built. I mean, nothing that's that difficult to
right,
do,
I
just
get
a
it.
draftsman.
No, we talked about that as well,
is
yeah.
he working toward that?
And I have no idea, I mean, I sent the letter in as soon as I got the request,
Yeah,
and
we
I've
still
not
have the
heard a word.
bond.
We still have the money, yeah,
Okay.
there you go.
So just in terms of knowing where you're at on that property, you got the bond, so.
Okay.
Good enough.
So
Pam, I
you were
did
looking
give
for a
you-
motion to approve?
Yeah, somebody
Last
make
I
a
heard.
motion to approve, Mr.
I'll make a
Orsini.
motion to approve.
Okay. Can I have a second?
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, I did give the information, Mr. Earlier, on the 160, 164. Right? You should have that. On the 160, 164 State Street?
Orsini.
I gave that to you before we got into this big discussion here.
I have no idea what he's
I
talking
gave you the address of this other. Remember, we got into other?
okay, yeah.
And I told you what it was for? Okay.
Got it.
Everybody got that?
Yes.
This commission? Okay. We're going to get right down to the minutes for the November 12th. Can I get a motion to approve the minutes?
I'll make a motion to approve.
And a second?
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
I'll abstain.
Okay.
Very well.
Thank you.
And
Just
was
want to
it-
acknowledge it.
No, the other one was nothing there. That, what was that? Oh, Burley.
And just, the only other, we didn't do the Open Space Committee nomination.
Oh, yeah.
By default, the open space
Hey,
committee
I have to get this stuff back.
felt is Teresa.
I was offering if there was anybody else here who might
Right.
want to be on open space.
And all the other board members politely declined.
Everybody quit.
I will do it for now.
Oh, good.
Thank you so much.
So
for that.
can we get a motion to approve
Get a
Teresa
motion to
Ranciano
approve
for
Teresa
Open Space Representative, which carries a stipend.
I will make that motion.
Okay. Can I have a second for that?
Brian made that motion?
He did.
Can I have a second for that? A second for
I'll
that?
second.
All in favor?
Rich.
All in favor?
It's a rich.
It's getting late.
Rich is trying to figure out whether he should.
All in favor? Say yes.
Yes, yes. They were laughing at me over it.
Jesus Christ.
Nobody's laughing
I
at you.
think they just all voted yes in some strange way.
Yeah, it was unanimous.
It
That's
was
the way it'll go.
Teresa, thank
And we
you.
have a thank you note.
And I just, we got a thank you note from the Borelli family, and we had to hear, pass that around. I didn't bother to copy it, but anyway,
Oh, bro.
I would like to see that.
Okay. Can I get a motion to adjourn?
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Can I have a second?
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, we are adjourned. Thank you very much.
The preceding program is brought to you in part through a grant from the town of North Haven. Watch town meetings or other videos on demand at nhtv.com.